So welcome to my channel. I am going to be making 3 different cookies today. These are 3 of the cookies that I make every year at Christmas. And during the time I'll chat about some of the other ones I've made, the cookies I grew up with. I'd love to know about the cookies that you grew up with for the holidays, whether it was Christmas or Hanukkah or any of the other holidays. I just love to share baking tips, baking secrets, and baking recipes. So that is the plan. I need to still hook up my music. If you were with me on the stream this evening, or this past week's evening, we got the music going. So I'm going to get some holiday music going in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to welcome you and thank you. So the 3 cookie recipes I'm going to be making today are Rugalah, holiday shortbread bites, and these anise almond biscotti, and I do dip them in chocolate. Today I won't have time to dip them in chocolate because they need to cool fully, and that I just know with the length of my stream, and we have plans this afternoon, that I'm probably not going to get to the chocolate dipping, but we'll talk about kind of what I do, the mixture that I use that I think really works nicely with those cookies. But yeah, so we're going to be getting started. So this is kind of how my day is going to go. The first, I'm going to move this over here a little bit because I think I'll need to put my mixer here. The first one I'm going to start with is just mixing together for the Rugalah. Now I do not have the recipes below. I will have them on the site by the end of today. Today's Sunday. So those are to come. I will be sharing the recipes that I've used for many, many, many years. And the Rugalah dough is easier to work with if it's super cold. So I'm going to get my mixer and I'm going to get that mixed. Last night I had to get out a bunch of butter and for the different cookies we're using and get it softened. And I also had to get 8 ounces of cream cheese and get that softened for the different recipes we're doing. I have my oven already preheating. And in fact, I want to take a quick peek at that one because make sure I see what temperature. 325. So I want to reduce it to 300 since I use convection. If any of you use convection or you're scared to use convection but you have that on your oven, the thing to remember is you always set the temperature for 25 degrees less than the recipe calls for, and it usually is done in less time depending upon the length of the recipe. The longer the length of the recipe, the longer the time. It's going to be shorter, but like anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes shorter bake time depending upon, again, your recipe and the length of it. So it's just good to check when you're first starting it. So I'm going to get my mixer and we are going to get started. All right, this is always a big thing to lug out. Oh, these are wonderful, but they are heavy. So here we go. As you can see, I'm in a different perspective with my stream today. The reason is that I'm using this wonderful wooden board that my grandpa made for my grandma and that my mom had, and then she gave to me because I love to bake. And so this is where I do all my Christmas cookies. So what I love about it is when I use this, I always think about my grandma, who was an incredible baker, and as you know, is the main reason I started this channel, was to be able to share and keep her recipes eternal and always available for people to enjoy. So it is interesting, one of the recipes that has surprised me that I made the other month was these anise cookies, which she used to always make for Christmas. I am not making those today. I did do a stream about it, so if you're interested in those cookies, do check it out. But what's interesting to me is I'm finding a lot of hits on that video of recent, and I think it's because they are traditionally made for in the winter time and for Christmas, and so so people are looking for the recipes. So I just, every time I see that there's been a view on the anise cookies, I think of my grandma and I smile because I just love that we can share some of the recipes of our loved ones so that others can enjoy. I feel like food is a great equalizer and a great way to bring people together. We know that, you know, in most cultures, the breaking the bread, getting together around a meal is such a great way to show love, care, and community. And so that's one of the things I love most about food. Hi, Po, how are you? Happy Sunday. So what time is it for you now? Because here it is 10:26. I'm a late start to my stream today. It's a So let me get my recipe. And so what I'm going to be adding in here is a 1/2 pound or 8 ounces of cream cheese, regular cream cheese, full fat, 2 cups flour, and a 1/2 pound butter, which equals 2 sticks of butter. So I'm going to grab that. So my butter and my cream cheese I put out last night so they would be softened. So if you're ever softening butter, that's a great way to do it, but you do need to put it out hours ahead of time to make sure that it is creamy and easy to blend. Otherwise, there are some hacks that you can do in the microwave, but I find that those are good in a pinch, but it really is best to just think ahead, get it out on your counter so it can come up, you know, to room temperature. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, so kind of what happened, so it is, let me do the math. So 5:25 p.m. It's so funny because I know, so you're saying 17:25, which is kind of what in the States we consider, what do we consider that? Like military time, because what happens is in military they don't talk about AM and PM. It's just, you know, once you go past 12, that's 12 p.m. So that would be 5:25 p.m. Your time. But I don't see often people using it that way. Yep, absolutely. I think that's cool. So I did do the math, even though I'm a bit frazzled. So Poe, thank you so much for your patience with the stream. I actually had to restart it because it was so delayed when I began that I just could not, knowing this is going to be a long stream, I could not go this whole way and just have it be that delayed. And so I took a risk, I stopped it and restarted it, and it worked, I think. So once you came on the second stream, like this one, when I restarted it, did you get on okay, or was that when you kept getting kicked off? So again, 2 sticks of butter. I use unsalted always in baking. That's a good rule of thumb because once you use salted, you're all of a sudden affecting the flavor, and you'd much rather be able to add salt when you're intending to do so, so you can control the taste and flavor of your product. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Okay, so 2 sticks of butter, and then I'm putting in 8 ounces of cream cheese, and again, you want the full fat version. I oftentimes with cream cheese use the lower fat version in dips and things like that. But in baking, I always use the full fat because I feel like all of that comes together and matters in the final product. And unless I'm doing a test kitchen where I'm going to be testing out these recipes with the lower fat, I think a lot of times when you lower the fat in recipes in baking, you've got to adjust some other things. And I always want to make sure the texture comes out good. So I just, you know, I do not make these cookies all the time. In fact, these cookies I only make at the holidays, these Rugalah. And so I want to make sure they taste fabulous. So I just stick to the original recipe, which, by the way, I got this original recipe for Rugalah from a friend. When my kids were very little, we started a play group with other moms with similar age kids. And this play group, we started doing a cookie swap. One of my friends hosted it, and we would all bring cookies, and we'd bring enough to share so that people would bring home a dozen new cookies that they didn't bake. So like, for instance, I'm trying to think what cookies I baked for that. I don't recall, to be honest, which version cookies I made. I just remember all the delicious cookies others made. And so through the years, many of those recipes I have kept through the years. The Rugalah are ones that I have. So I've never had Rugalah before. And one of my friends, Debbie, made these. And I loved them and fell in love with them. So we also swapped the recipes besides the cookies. And that just stuck. I've made them ever since that cookie swap. The other cookies I'm making, which will be next, the Shortbread Bites, are also from one of those get-togethers, and I loved them so much that those are cookies that stuck. I will say I didn't make them every year after that, but I don't know, a couple years ago, I made them like once or twice. A couple years ago, I was just craving them. I love shortbread, and so I started making those, and they're super easy, and I've forgotten how easy they were. So they're a great, quick holiday cookie if you want something quick and easy, but that'll be the second recipe. We're now still on the Rugalah. I'm so glad you got in okay, Poe. Thank you so much. So what's your favorite cookie? Is there a favorite cookie you like? making, baking, and for what occasions do you like making those cookies? So in here I put 2 sticks of butter, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and I'm going to be adding 2 cups of flour. So I'm going to grab my flour. And before I do so, I realize I need to add more flour to my flour container because that's just how it's going to roll today. So let me grab my new flour. Oh, it's on the top shelf, so it makes it a little tricky. But here we go. Okay. So I'm going to put that in here. You love shortbread too. Oh, me too. As I've gotten older, I think I've really gotten to appreciate the flavor of butter. It just lends something especially to baked goods. And I love just the simplicity of shortbread, which is what I love about these. This is being a little bit tricky. And what I love about the shortbread bites is they're tiny. And so it's, okay, so let me just be honest. It's what I love about it, but it's also what makes them dangerous because you just kind of pop them in your mouth. And before you know it, you've had, oh, this is just being a pain in the patootie. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna need scissors. Be right back. Grab those. But I find these shortbread bites super addictive, so it's one of those times I'll say sorry, not sorry. They are a great recipe. And what's cool is you can, and I'll show you when I make them, is by adding different sugars or nonpareils, you can really decorate them according to the occasion. So, you know, for me, I make them for the holidays, but they could be made for really any occasion by just adjusting some things, or you could just make them plain, and I'll show that too. Okay, I need to get some of this flour in here. Hopefully I don't make a royal mess. Oh, I'm making a royal mess. Okay, keeping it real here in Philly. There we go. The good news is this is a flour board, so that's what we're going to be doing on this board anyway. So that's the good news. Let's set this flour over here, get it out of the way. Oh yes, I'm so glad to know my board is already floured. All right, and I have it over the sink, which is good because I can just also toss some of this in the sink. So let me just set this aside and get myself a little tidied up. Gosh. Oh, biscuits. Ooh, so I'm wondering, are those like a traditional rising biscuit, or is that, or do you use biscuit in as another word for cookie? Because I know different foods are called a variety of different things all over the world. So what I'm wondering is the biscuit called a cookie? So is it indeed like, because we have oatmeal cookies here in the States, which is a very popular cookie and are quite yummy. And so I'm wondering that, so you'll have to let me know. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 cups of flour in here. Let me grab my measures. All right. Oh, I forgot to put the decorations on my dear sweet Shelby. So let me go get her. She's got a hat too, so Mama and Shelby can wear her hat. And then once Daddy sees she's wearing the hat, he'll probably take it off her because he'll feel bad. Hi, Shelby. Come here. Want to show your hat? No, I don't think they can see. We'll have to look over on this side. We'll get a peek. We'll get a peek, you're sweet. Now I gotta wash my hands though, because I'm making stuff. She's wondering if I'm gonna give her a treat. All right, so we're gonna get 2 cups of flour. I feel like I've been at the KitchenAid mixer for like an hour now without really getting anything done, but we'll get things going here. Okay, so 2 cups of flour. And again, just like always with flour, you don't want to pack it. You want to lightly put it in and then just head off the top. There we go. There we go. Okay. Whoops, a little bit more. Okay. Just take off the top. Whoops. There we go. So we have 2 cups of flour, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and a ½ pound of butter, unsalted. Let me put my flour here because we will be needing it other times. And then I'm going to put on my mixing, my regular mixing attachment. And we are going to get this mixed. Lock it. And you want to start slow. And what's great is since everything came to room temperature, it will come together and make a smooth dough. And once the dough is finished, we will divide the dough into 3 parts, wrap it in saran wrap or cling wrap, plastic wrap, and then we'll put it in the refrigerator to chill. As I mentioned, this is a good dough to make ahead of time. I've even made it the night before and let it chill overnight because it's just, sometimes I'll do it the day before and then the next day I'll roll it out and make the cookies. So we're making this dough first so that we can put in the fridge and make these cookies last. All right, now I'm noticing, which is something you always have to be careful about with these big mixers, is down below. Let me see if I can actually show you without the dough falling. Here, get that off. There we go. Down below, there is some dry flour. I don't know if you can tell that. So that is one thing you want to be very careful about when you're using a mixer. You want to always make sure you grab that. I don't know if you can see the little girl there. She had her little, you can hear her bells. She's not so happy with Mama right now. She's like, why'd you put this hat on me? I just wanted you to look festive, Shell. Mama's wearing her hat. Doggie's wearing her hat. Oh, she's just gonna lay down. Here, I'll show you guys. Let me see if I can show you real quick. My girl with her little hat. See her there? There she is. You see my messy closet too. All right, back over here. Okay, so I'm just getting this loose flour that's at the bottom because I want to incorporate that into the dough. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just don't want all that dry stuff. Oh, and my dough's starting to fall, which is of course bound to happen. Okay, so now we're going to try mixing that back up. There we go. All right, now we're going to give it a little bit more aggressive mix, because the flour's not all flying all over the place. And I think it is, yeah, I think it's about ready. And I do this little trick, you gotta be careful with it just to help get some of the dough off the hook. And there we go. So it's all creamy, but you can see this is super soft right now. So this would not be good for rolling out. You want to get all the extra dough off because it'll help make those yummy Rugalah. I love this dough because just the cream cheese addition to it gives it so much flavor. And what I love about Rugalah is that people, there are so many different kinds of Rugalah, and the kind that I fill mine, well, what I fill mine with are, I make 3 different kinds because the main reason okay, let me just start with the beginning. The original Rugalah that I have used chopped walnuts in it, but my kids were not walnuts guys. So, wait a second here. Let me just get this. So what I adjusted was I wanted to add little mini chocolate chips to one of them because I knew they would eat it if it had chocolate chips in it because they love chocolate. And then when I was making them the very first time, I thought, okay, so I'll put walnuts in one, I'll put chocolate chips in the other, and then the third, I did both. Well, as it turns out, most people's favorite of these that I make are the third, which has both of them in. But really, you could use anything. You could use any kind of jam, any kind of nut. Like, there's just so many different variations. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my plastic wrap out so that I can wrap these 3 sections off and put them in the fridge. Just get that. Yes, they sound delicious. They sound really, really yummy. I love cookies. You know, I think one of the things I love about cookies is that, you know, when you have a cookie, when you're enjoying a cookie, it's not a big commitment. It's a small treat, right? You know, and it's a nice portion. Of course, sometimes, you know, with cookies that we really, really like, we eat multiple portions of them. But I love cookies like that. That's one of the reasons I actually like cupcakes. Cupcakes for years now have been kind of having a moment here in the States. But I think the reason people really like cupcakes, again, are the portion. It's just like, it's perfect for one person. Whereas when you get a cake, there's a lot of slices, and while you enjoy it at the beginning, at least for me, after a while, I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to finish this cake, even if it's delicious? And now, you know, it's all those calories because we don't eat that way all the time. Okay, so here we go. So I have 3 pieces of plastic wrap, and then you're just going to eyeball it and divide it into roughly 3 of the same size. Oh, we have a little static going on there. 3 of the same size pieces of dough. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just generally about the same size. And I kind of do some give and take from both of them if one seems bigger than the other. So I'm just divvying it up. We're not aiming for perfection, just generally. And I think I got pretty close. I think this one has a little bit less. Yeah, I think we did pretty well here. I'm going to give this one the rest of that. I'm going to fill this with water so that we can use this again for our next recipe. So make it that filled up. So I've got 3 portions of my dough. And then once I put the plastic wrap around it, I use the plastic wrap to kind of make it like a disc. And the reason I do that is it will help you when you're rolling out. So I'm just going to bring up my plastic wrap. Bring it all around, and my aim is to make it kind of roundish, disc shaped. And you can kind of do it once you get it all covered. You see I have it covered here but not totally sealed. Then I just press it around. I kind of form it like that, and again I'm trying to make it a disc shape because it's going to chill, and then that'll make your job all the more easy once you're rolling this out, because you'll see how you make these little crescent shaped Rugalah. So you definitely want it to be round. So you can see it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's all you do. So I'm going to do that with this one now too. Just press on it to get it started into that disc shape. And then you fully start forming it. You will thank me later when you do this on the onset. And it's funny, I'm trying to remember if she wrote this on the recipe or not. No, she actually just wrote 3 parts. I think when I put them in the plastic wrap, they tended to be roundish. I don't think I thought ahead, but the second time I made them, I thought, oh, I'm going to be much more strategic about this so that it helps me when I'm forming the cookies. And again, you'll see. But it isn't hard to just kind of get this generally disc shaped on the get-go. And again, you'll see when we make these the last time. Okay, so we've got our 3 discs of Rugalah dough. These are going in the fridge to chill, so we will bake these last. So I'm putting them in the refrigerator, chill out, literally. Whoops, 1 second, friends. There we go. Those to chill. All right, heading back. Okay, there we go. So plastic wrap can go away. The first part of the Rugalah making is done. Now we're going to move on to the shortbread bites. Let me just wipe this off. Okay, so the shortbread bites dough is very simple too. It consists of 1 1/4 cup flour, 3 tablespoons powdered sugar, 1/4 teaspoon kosher salt, a 1/2 teaspoon vanilla extract, 1 stick of butter softened, and then some sprinkles or sugar. And I'll tell you about those in a minute. So first thing I need to do is turn this, because we'll be using this, and I need to get my bowl washed so it's ready for these cookies, because we just used that bowl. So let me tidy up real quick. You're watching, oh no, you're watching on the big screen. You've seen all my wrinkles in their glory, right? It is funny. So when one of the things I do as a YouTuber is, especially doing these live streams, is I always watch the live stream myself later. Not always the same day. Sometimes it's the next day or just usually sometime that week. Because I just want to see, first of all, I want to see how things went, especially if there were any technical issues. I want to see if there's areas that I want to edit out. You know, like sometimes I know a couple streams ago, we were Cubs and I we were closing out the stream, and I don't remember what happened, but we thought we had closed it out, like we thought we'd stopped it, but it hadn't, and we were still chatting away, and it was just a really long process. So I was like, okay, we need to edit that out because that's just a little embarrassing and too much. So, and then oftentimes, because you know how I start my streams with the elevator scene, and that I always edit out eventually, like once I've had the chance to, because I realize that most of my followers end up watching my stream or watching my video after the live stream, and that, as a live streamer, I fully know that everyone's schedules are different, and not everyone can always join the live stream live, but they might want to see it after the fact. So so I always chop off that beginning part because I figure no one wants to sit there and watch the elevator stream or even fast forward through that if they don't have to. So so that's something I do as well. But if my head goes to thinking about like someone people, because I've seen it myself, when I watch on a big screen, I'm like, oh no, every imperfection, every this and that, but you just gotta let that go. I do think that live streaming has helped me let go of a lot more things, if that makes sense, Poe. There are certain things that I would get anxious about that I've learned you just can't worry about that. So in that fact, it's kind of been, I think it's been a good process for me personally. But I try to really focus on what's important, which is helpful. Okay, so all my tools are all ready now. I'm just going to dry them so that I can be ready for my shortbread bites. So these were these were cookies that I had at one of those get-togethers with these young moms when we were all raising our kids. And they were so pretty, and I think my friend Kathy had put them, I think she'd actually put them in some sort of jar. And they were so beautiful, and we were like, oh, these are so cool. And then we tasted them, and they were so delicious. Because if you've ever had shortbread, which I know, Poe, you've had that, shortbread is so good and so simple, but so tasty. And so I just think they're a great thing. They're a great gift to give away if you want to give away a baking gift. They're pretty, and they could be put in a cellophane bag, or you could find a pretty little and inexpensive jar that they have like at the craft stores, and really make a nice gift to give away. And homemade gifts are always, I think, one of the loveliest gifts. So I have my oven preheated to 325 if you're cooking regular. If you're using convection oven, it would be 300, and it's all preheated, ready to go. So then it says in a food processor to make them, which you could. I will tell you, I've always made mine with just my KitchenAid. I do have a food processor, but if any of you caught the I forget which stream it was where I used a food processor, and I have issues getting the blade and the lid and everything all set. So what things? I know, I've been talking. Oh, Tracy! Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Oh, Tracy, I'm sorry. I see I didn't notice. I was chit-chatting away and see. Hi, Tracy. Good morning to you. It's so good. I thank you for joining on my stream as I'm rambling on. And Poe, I'm just reading your stuff, and that is so sweet. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. So I need to catch up on my messages. So Poe said, "I'm not as brave as you are." Oh, you're really kind. I'm not brave, Poe. I had this silly idea, to be honest, and it was inspired by my son because he streams gaming, which is not my thing, obviously. And I really wanted to kind of immortalize my grandma's recipes, and that's kind of what inspired me. Oh, and I will say, and I said this before, I also have always gotten the biggest kick out of the Food Network, and so part of this is like. So when I was a little girl, I remember pretending, to be all sorts of people and things, as a little girl. I would just get my dolls and I'd pretend away. So for me, this little live stream feels a little bit like pretending, meaning I get to be this, and I'm just a stinking home cook, right? But I get to be this home cook and reach out to friends across the country, the world, and that to me is inspiring. You guys are the ones that inspire me. And Poe, when I look at all the cooking you do, that you share, that inspires me. And Tracy, my friend, also inspires me because she cooks amazingly and healthy but delicious, and so that inspires me too. A friend bought me a big tin of Scottish shortbread a while ago. I was, oh yes, Scottish shortbread. That sounds delicious. I don't know if I've ever had Scottish shortbread. Oh, and Tracy says, you look adorable. I don't know about that, but love the hat. Quite festive. I know, I'm feeling very festive. In fact, I'm going to show you, because Tracy knows Shelby. I'm going to show you Shelby because she's resting and she's festive with her mama. So again, excuse my untidy area over here, but there's Shelby resting with her hat. So there we go. All right, back to these shortbread bites. So we are going to start dumping the ingredients in here because basically it's just a dump and blend, and when the dough comes together, we are going to roll it out, cut it, and get it on a cookie sheet. So we're going to put, let's get that stick of butter, and I'm going to take off my rings because I'm going to need them off. Okay, so I got my butter. I think Shelby thought maybe that was meant food for her, but she sees me go over there, and it's also where her treats are located. But no, it's just, you can go back to sleep, sweetie girl. There we go. Got our stick of butter softened so that it'll blend up nicely. And then we're going to get 1 1/4 cups of flour. So let's get that measured out. I'm going to do my 1/4 cup first, I think. There we go. 1/4 cup, and I'll do my 1 cup. Yes, Shelby. Yeah, Shelby girl. There we go. Okay. Excellent. So 1 1/4 cups flour, and then 3 tablespoons of sugar. Now, shortbread, of course, is renowned for not being too sweet. Definitely not too overly sweet. And then they use powdered sugar so that it will fully absorb, blend, dissolve into the dough. So now I keep powdered sugar, hopefully I have enough in here, in one of these little sifters. This is like one of my hacks I do. You know, when you want to put powdered sugar over a baked good, a cookie, like we make Dutch babies, we put them over Dutch babies, which are puffed pancakes. And my mom had one of these, and I knew I wanted one of these too. And it's just a little sifter so you can sift out powdered sugar. So, and it has a little cap so it can stay fresh. So I'm going to use this because it's a nice, easy way to get a little bit of powdered sugar out. I'm going to get my tablespoon measure. So in here, we're going to put 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. Put this lid back on. So it's one of my favorite little hacks because, you know, a lot of times when you're thinking about, it is giving me a trouble getting on. I know. When it gets its sugar here, it kind of makes it a little trickier getting on. But some of those little, like, finishing flourishes we don't do because I don't know about you, I'm like, oh my gosh, to grab the bag of powdered sugar that's probably in the back of the cupboard. I don't know if I want to grab it out just to like sprinkle some over something, and then I've got to get a sifter out. So when you use this, it's set to go, ready to go. It doesn't take up a lot of space in your cupboard. So that's one of the things I like to do. We're also adding a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. It's really important that it's kosher salt because kosher salt has a bigger grain, and if you use regular table salt, it could be too salty. But I will say these bigger grains in the kosher salt, you get this lovely little salty bite within the shortbread bite, which is one of my favorite parts. My son, Matt, also, is one of his favorite parts. And you wouldn't have that with just the tiny little grains of table salt. So if you can, if you've never used kosher salt before, try to get kosher salt for this recipe. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And of course, I have vanilla paste, so you could use vanilla extract or vanilla paste. Let's see here, 1/2 teaspoon. There we go. go. We are set with that. And now we're going to blend this together. Put this on. Let's see here. There we go. And no, do be very gentle because of the powdered sugar and the flour. So we're going to let that go soft. So let's see who's here now. Oh, hey, DS. Thank you. Feeling festive today. So, and yes, DS, we have Poe and Tracy, who's one of my friends on. So it is a festive time with this cookie baking. So we are making shortbread bites right now, DS. It's a very simple cookie. We are going to be rolling it out, and then we are going to be cutting it into little cubes, and they become these adorable little, easy little things to pop into your mouth, but they're dangerous too because they're very addictive. Now, what I'm noticing, I'm going to show you where my dough is right now and what I'm going to do next. So let me show you. Let me get some of this extra off. Because the dough of these is very dry. Okay, so you can see it's my dough right now is still very dry. So I'm going to be adding the sugar that I want to use. Now, you can sprinkle this sugar on top and lightly press it onto it, which is something that I did last year. If you saw my pictures, that's what I did last year. This year I'm going to do something a little different. Get it? So I'm going to use sanding sugar because sanding sugar has a bigger crystal, and so it shows up more. I gotta see. I just got this, so I'm not sure quite how this thing works. I know it can go to different sugars, so I have to figure this out. 1 second. Oh, there we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 1 second. Get this guy off. I'm going to put green sugar in the dough, and then I'm going to put some red sugar on top. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to put maybe, I don't know, I'm going to eyeball it. It's probably about a half teaspoon of green sanding sugar in here because I kind of want it to be mixed throughout so that there'll be green flecks throughout, and then I'm going to sprinkle some of the red on top. Okay, so I'm going to get this going a little higher. What I find with shortbread is sometimes, depending on how dry your air is, I might need to add a dab of moisture to help it come together, but I'm going to give it some time, see if the dough will come together, because you need it just together enough so that you can roll it out and cut it. Let's see here. Oops, it's getting there. You get it going a little quicker. It's coming. Okay. There we go. Okay. It came together. So, see, you can tell even right here, there's a chunk of dough. It's not going to come together like the Rugalah did. It's not a moist dough. It's fairly dry. And really, the butter is what's holding it all together. And then what I want to do is I might use just a tiniest bit of flour just to make sure it doesn't stick. It shouldn't stick, but I just want to be careful and get my little sifter I use. Okay, here. So DS, what kind of, and Tracy, what kind of, we were talking about cookies earlier, what kind of Christmas cookies do you like to make? Do you like to eat? Like any of the above? Okay, so you can see here, the dough is not completely together, but it is moist enough that we're going to be able to push it together, and that's what we want. So I'm going to dump this out. I do not want to overflour this. Okay, there we go. Excellent. Get all the last goodness off, and I'm just going to have this come together. Put the pieces in there. Now, for this shape, I actually want this to be a rectangle, because I'm going to be making squares. In fact, I'm going to get my dough scraper because that'll help me a little bit. So 1 second, let me grab my dough scraper. You grab a paper towel also. There we go. Okay. We'll get some flour in my dough scraper too. Okay, so I actually, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to use my dough scraper to kind of help me get my rectangle. And so for this, we want this to be a 1/2 inch thick, and so my dough scraper helps me with that because it shows, yep, we're like at about 1 1/4 inches. So then all I'm gonna do is I'm going to roll this out just enough, right? So it's about, oh, and I need to put some flour in here because it was starting to stick. Get some flour in there. One spot, get that spot off. There we go. Let's see. Lemongrass cheesecake, DS said. I make when I use short. Oh, that sounds fabulous, DS. Lemongrass cheesecake. That sounds amazing. That sounds very yummy. Well, everything you make sounds yummy. You're like Poe and Tracy. You guys all just make yummy things. Okay, so I'm rolling this out carefully. It's not going to be, you'll be surprised at how little this stays. Let me just square it off a little bit. You see what I'm doing here? I don't want to hide that. So I'm just squaring it off. Again, I probably get a little too detailed on it, but I really like my shortbread bites to look pretty. And I just need to gently, so I'm actually letting the roller weight kind of do its thing, if that makes sense. I'm not really pressing, and I'm aiming for a 1/2 inch, and we're there. Okay, so we are at a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to square it off one more time. Let's see. There we go. Okay, all right. There we go. So we are all set with that. Now you can use a knife, or I'm just going to use my bench scraper, and then you're going to be making this into cubes, okay, into 1/2 inch squares. So you want them to be basically like an exact cube. Now we're not looking for exact here in my kitchen, that's for sure, but that's the desired look that you're aiming for. So I'm going to basically just start sectioning off. So you can see these are quite small. Therefore, they become bites, little bites of goodness. And they will get a little bit bigger in the oven, but when I tell you these are just the tastiest little things to pop in your mouth, oh my goodness, they are fabulous. And they are, as I said, quite addictive. Now, I'm looking at my last piece. It's not going to be able to make 3 because they're going to be too big, so I'm actually just going to do it in half. So they'd be too small, so I'm actually just going to do it in half, so they'll just be a little bit large. Just want to try to get, there we go. So that is what it is. It's all good. I'm going to divide some of these so I can now do it the other way. So then you just take them. You see, like, they're pretty manageable. Like, it's not a real fussy dough. You just kind of want to be gentle, but you want to just do your thing. I find I find this is a very easy recipe to work with. There we go. And I'm going to get these. And then we're literally going to put these onto parchment paper. Oh no, I have Silpats. I was going to say, I forgot to get more parchment paper. So I'm going to put these on Silpats and bake them off in the oven. So these tiny little things, let me just show you. These tiny little things. Do you see that? They're about 1/2 inch cube, and they're going to bake off. So I'm still unprepared that I had not even gotten out my baking sheets yet. They're just up here though, and I have my Silpats. You could use parchment paper, and you could, because it's a shortbread cookie, it should not stick. You could just put them right on your cookie sheet. But what I do whenever I'm baking anymore is I use a Silpat or parchment paper, and that way I don't have any issues, which is, phew, like one less thing to worry about, right? So let me just shove these out of the way a little bit. Just 1 second so I can get my cookie sheet on here. So you can see, like, they're pretty sturdy. Let me get some of this extra dough off so I don't get all over my cookie sheet. Put that there. Put my Silpat on, which is just the silicone match that we have, and I'm just going to take these and transfer like parts of them and spread them out. So I'm just going to take them a little bit at a time. That's what I tell you, the bench, I don't know if you all have bench scrapers, but it's a great tool that just really helps make things easier. Okay, there we go. And then I'm just going to spread these out. So I just take them. And I realized, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to put some red sugar on top because that's what I was going to do, right? So let me take some red sugar. Actually, I'm going to do red on one of them, on half of them, and I'm going to do white sugar on the other half. So let me get this open. This is that thing. It has sanding sugar, white, green, and red. Turn it the other. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take some red sugar. And it's the sanding sugar, so it's just a little bit. And I'm just sprinkling them on top. I'm going to press them in. I should have done this before I cut it, but I forgot. Just being real here in Philly. Just plain old forgot. I'm just trying to make them look festive. You don't have to do this. You could just keep the green sugars inside. I'm just trying to add a little more color. And I'm going to do the white sugar on the others because they'll just make it look a little more sparkly. So just trying to add some festivity to these shortbread bites. They're really adorable. Take this one off. So the white ones will just look a little more sparkly. And actually, I will say the other thing I love about the sanding sugar is it adds texture to it. I'll add a little white onto the reds too. It just adds a little texture to it, so it has a little crunch. And then I'm spreading these out. But I'm telling you, you don't even need the sugar, this extra sugar. They are so addictive. Your guests, your friends will love them. And like I said, they're great to put in a jar or in cellophane wrap with a pretty bow. They just present beautifully. But the best part is the eating. And these are one of Matt's favorites. And I gave him the recipe. I think I feel either he's tried them or this is one of the cookies he actually wants to try to make first. Because he's not made the cookies on his own because he really enjoys them. And they are, I told him, I said, these are a great, easy cookie to start with. Especially, you know, one of the things we don't make anymore, we used to always make when the kids were young. And actually, when the kids were young till probably high school, we used to always make the sugar cookies. And that was the cookie that I loved most when I was little because they were pretty and they were sweet. And like my mom's, she had some with sugar and some with icing. And of course, I preferred the icing because, you know, that was where I was at that point. I was a sweet tooth girl, no longer, but at the time I was. And yeah, so those are just the ones that I think fascinate the little ones. But I still like the flavors of them, but I don't like the work of them, honestly. Now that my kids are grown, I feel like that's something they can do once they have kids. So for me, the shortbread bites just give us that taste of those yummy cookies, but even better because there's more butter in them. And it's easier. So, and they still look pretty. So this is how it looks once you separate them all. Again, you don't have to add the other color sugar. You don't have to add any sugar if you just want to make them for shortbread. We're going to pop these in the oven at 325 or 300 convection for 18 to 20 minutes. And that'll be fun to try to see if they're done or not. That's the best part about, honestly, the best part about baking day is getting to taste all of the fresh samples. In fact, I will tell you, one of my hubs and I favorite thing is when we eat the fresh out of the oven Rugalah. The fresh out of the oven Rugalah are like nothing I've ever had. They are amazing. And as much as I enjoyed my friend's Rugalah at the cookie swap, when I made them fresh, it was so worth it just to have them fresh out of the oven. Oh yes, they are great with Cocoa DS and coffee. I knew what you meant. Ruby, welcome. Welcome to the live stream, Ruby. Thank you for joining us. So we were talking about holiday cookies since I'm making Christmas cookies right now. So Ruby, what are your favorite Christmas cookies? Are there some that are holiday cookies? Are there some that you make each year? Or are there some favorites that you love enjoying? So we have done a Rugalah dough, which is chilling in the fridge. We're going to bake those off last. We have made our holiday shortbread bites. They are in the oven baking. Oh, I need to set my temperature. Almost forgot that. Let's see. Okay, I have my timer set. And next we are going to be making the dough for and actually the full name is Anise Almond Biscotti, but it was too much to write in the description. So my chocolate dipped biscotti. These are my son David's favorite. He loves these biscotti, and I think they're one of my my husband's favorite too. And the great thing about biscotti is they keep, if you keep them in an airtight container, they keep for the longest. They are a cookie that you can make well ahead of time, and they will be just as good on Christmas Day. And they are great for gifts too, because as you were saying, DS, hot cocoa, tea, coffee, they're great to dip. And you don't have to put chocolate on them. If you don't care for chocolate, that's totally fine. So one of the things this is a recipe that I found on my own. So what happened was I've enjoyed biscotti for a long time. Not like I didn't have biscotti growing up, but I think when I was on my own, I want to say that was when there was a brand of biscotti that started showing up in the grocery stores, and I think I might have had a biscotti at like Starbucks or something. So I really never had biscotti, and that was something new for me. And but I liked them, and I loved dipping them in tea or coffee, to be honest. I mean, that was one of my favorites. And so I became curious as someone who cooked and who liked to bake especially, and I thought to myself, ooh, I wonder if I could make biscotti, because I'd never made before. So this was one of those times I stepped out, you know, like we do as cooks, and I tried something new. And this recipe was originally it was purely an almond biscotti recipe. But at that point in my life, I'd never made my grandma's anise cookies. I missed my grandma's anise cookies. So I wanted to put a little grandma in this recipe. So this is a recipe that I've adapted. And I don't even think I don't even have the original where the recipe came from, because this recipe I know I found online years ago, but I don't even have that information anymore. So my apologies to whoever's recipe I adapted this from, but it was so long ago that I've lost track, because I put it onto a recipe card and I did not include that information. I never thought I'd be live streaming someday and, you know, and wanting that. So my apologies if this sounds like a recipe you had. So the original recipe was just almond biscotti. And I liked the idea of having the almonds in biscotti. I think, well, first of all, I love nuts, and this is always something you could leave out. You don't have to add the nuts if you don't like them in your biscotti, but I do, and I really liked the idea of almonds being in there. So I think I made them the plain way, which is with almond extract, which was delicious. But I had thought to myself, gee, I wonder what it would be like if I used anise extract, because it reminded me of my grandma, instead of the almond extract. But I still wanted the almonds in there. And so that's the first time I ever made it with the anise extract. Now, anise extract is very strong, so I used a smaller amount of it than called for the almond extract. So in my recipe, which I'm sorry I don't have them down there yet, but they will be down there by Monday. And in the recipe, I'll give you some of the amounts right now. I say you can use 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of anise extract to your liking. So I'm pretty sure in the original recipe for the almond extract there was at least 1/2 teaspoon. It might have even been a full teaspoon, but I knew I couldn't add that much anise extract. So the first time I made it, I know I just used 1/4 because I was worried about my kids being sensitive to that flavor. And they barely even noticed it, so it wasn't a deal breaker of any sort. And then I think I increased it a little bit. So I think what I usually do most times is I kind of just do a heaping 1/4 teaspoon. So I'm not so carefully measuring the 1/4 teaspoon. But you know, I don't know about you, but when you're measuring some of these extracts, like, you know, if you're doing it over your bowl, which is probably what you shouldn't be doing, sometimes it just goes a little over. So I feel like if I stick with it being 1/4 and it goes a little over, then we're fine. That makes sense, because I don't want the flavor to overpower. I just want it to enhance. I want to think of my grandma. So that you can leave out. If you don't care for anise extract, then just stick with the almond extract, or you could just use vanilla extract. That's the other thing you could do. So in here, we are going to be adding, and by the way, the oven that we're going to be cooking this in is going to be a little bit hotter. It's going to be at 350, so I'll be shooting this up before I put it in up to 325 convection, 350 regular for when we bake this off. And it's a 2-baker, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the ingredients are unsalted butter, 4½ tablespoons, a 3/4 cup plus 3 tablespoons of sugar, 2½ cup plus 3 tablespoons of flour, a pinch of salt, 1½ teaspoons baking powder, 3 eggs, and 2/3 cups slivered almonds. And then I put in 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of anise extract to your liking. So some people might want a stronger flavor. So let's start getting this together. The first thing we're going to do is beat the butter and sugar together. So I'm going to get my 4½ teaspoons of unsalted butter. So I'm just going, this is softened. Oh, whoopsie, I forgot that was there. This is already softened. So I'm just going to take my knife, there we go, and cut this. Let's see here. So it's, okay. There you go. Thanks. Nice festive. Can you guys hear the music? Is it loud enough or is it pretty soft? This, there we go. Alrighty. So there's my butter, and I'm going to add my sugar. And my sugar, it's going to be 3/4 cup plus 3 tablespoons sugar. By the way, I don't know why she does the whole like the minute amounts. I think it was just a very exact recipe. But it is what it is, right? Let me get my sugar out. And this is just normal sugar. So 3/4 cup. So I'm just going to do it the old. I'm just going to do 3 of these, and I'm going to get my tablespoons out. So 1, 2, 3. Gosh. And Ruby said peanut butter thumbprint cookies. Yes, oh my gosh, Ruby, I grew up with those. My mom always made those. And those are one of my son David's favorite. Although he likes, because back in the day when those first came out, you know, we only had the milk chocolate Hershey Kiss. And then later they came out with the dark chocolate one, so he prefers the dark chocolate on top. Oh, yes, I gotta show you Shelby. I've been showing everybody Shelby. Ruby, you'll check this out too. So she's festive like her mama, but back to, you know what, I'm gonna close this closet. Just a second here. Hide some of my mess. So I gotta show you Shelby, so just hang in there. Don't get dizzy. There she is. She's got her festive hat on. So Shelby is good. She's not too happy that I put the hat on, but she's making do. All right, let me put my sugar over here. Oh wait, I didn't do my 3 tablespoons. Ah! I mean, it would have been fine probably, but I'm gonna stick to the recipe. I did my 3/4 cup and not my 3 tablespoons. Let me get a fresh tablespoon. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Sometimes it's amazing I can keep it all together, right? Okay, so 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, now we're all set. I can put the sugar away. So we're going to cream this butter and sugar together. Put this here. I'm going to get my regular attachment up. So when I do put the recipes, and when I put the recipe for the Shortbread Bites, I will put in there that you can do it in a food processor, but I just do it in my stand mixer. So I know I digressed there to the Shortbread Bites, but I just wanted to say I'll put both in there. Okay, so we're going to cream our butter and sugar together. Oh, and Hubs is watching the World Cup. And so he's in the other room. He's going to come out and get some taste of some cookies. But he wanted to watch that. And if he watches it here, he won't be able to hear anything. So I said, because it's birthday weekend this weekend for Hubs. So I said, absolutely, you go back in our room and you watch it. And then just come get cookie taste when you want to get some cookie taste. So when you cream the butter and sugar, you just want to do so until the sugar has like a kind of a light yellow color, and it's fully almost become one. So when you first start mixing it together, it's kind of very craggly, and you want it to be smoother. Now sometimes there's such a big butter content to sugar that it gets really creamy. This is a higher sugar level to butter, so it's still going to be pretty dry, but you just want it to be fairly smooth. So let me stop it. Let me check it out and show you what we got. So you can see it's super pale because it's a high sugar to butter ratio, but you want it to be fairly smooth. I'm just going to let it go just a little bit more. Do that. Do a high one. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, so get that off. And then we can add the remainder of our ingredients. Just mix it up here. Nice. Okay. Ah, yes. I told Shelby that DS is high, and she's dreaming. So her eyes are flickering and her paws are moving. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, let me just take a look okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our flour, baking powder, salt, and we're gonna get that combined, and then we're gonna add our extract, our eggs, one at a time until everything is fully incorporated. So let me get my eggs out. I'm going to need 3 eggs. I'm gonna grab my almonds while I'm over here. And as you know, we always talk about this. You want to make sure that you break your eggs into something before you add them to the dough anyway, just because you want to make sure there's nothing funny going on with your eggs. 3 eggs. I need to grab my almonds. Because one thing I have forgotten before making these is when you add ingredients later on, I am notorious for forgetting to add the things like the nuts. So yeah. So make sure I don't forget to add them. And I've got my slivered almonds already. I always want to, now these I keep in the freezer. You always want to try one, just make sure they're so good. They're so good. There's nothing like a bad nut. You don't want to put any bad nuts in those cookies. They'll ruin your cookies. Okay, so we are going to get the flour, baking powder, and salt. So for the flour, I need 2 1/4 cup plus 3 tablespoons flour. So let's get our flour going. 2 1/4 cup. So we have been talking about cookies, and I know, DS, you were talking about a cheesecake, but I was wondering, for anyone that's still hanging out here on the stream, are there other things you make traditionally around the holidays that aren't cookies, that are maybe like cheesecakes, like DS was mentioning, or maybe they're candies, or other baked goods, or even savory goods that you tend to make? So I'm putting my 2 1/4 cup plus those extra tablespoons. That's 1. Getting low in the flour. I have plenty of flour back there. You saw me enter it. This is definitely a day that we're getting a lot of our flour used. Okay. That's 2. And we're gonna get my 1/4 cup measure. Let's see. Go, and then 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna get that tablespoon and do 3. By the way, we watched Spirited last night with the kids after we ate Andy's spaghetti and meatballs request dinner that I made for them, and that was a cute movie. It was a musical, and it had Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell and oh, I'm forgetting the actress's name. It'll come to me. It was great cast, very funny, very adult, meaning it is definitely not something that you'd watch with young kids, because the humor was all adult, and you know, and I'll just leave it at that. But it was a musical, and it was very enjoyable. We really liked it. So it's on Netflix right now. We had a ball watching that. It was a great fun thing to watch. So I put my flour in. And I am now going to put a pinch of salt. Of course, I'm going to use my kosher salt. A nice pinch of salt there. And then I'm also going to be putting in my baking powder. So I need 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. So So let me get that. There we go. 1.5 teaspoons. Here they are. We also watched, not together, but Hubs and I watched the sequel to, or not sequel, yeah, I guess it's a sequel to A Christmas Story, which is one of our favorite movies, and it was okay. I wasn't really expecting it to be that great. I think a movie for us, because we really love the original movie, that's as iconic as that. I think it's hard to make that be something that is as good as you want it to be. But it was fine. Like, I was glad I watched it, but it wasn't definitely as good as I hoped it would be. So we just added our flour, baking powder, and salt, and we are going to basically just beat that until it's combined. We just want to get it combined. We want to start slow because of that flour. And then we're going to be adding the extract and those eggs one at a time. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm done making my dough. I'll just add the eggs one at a time to this and then pop that in. So I'll get my first egg going. There we go. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to up it up just a little bit. It's going to stay dry because the sugar is dry, and I'm going to actually just, I want to kind of mix it up a little bit better. Because basically what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to incorporate the creamed sugar into the flour so that it becomes a little more coarse, like the whole mixture, but you want it to kind of be well mixed in there. I heard our beeper go off, and that's for our shortbread bites. So I'm going to take a bite of one of them and see if they are ready. Let me just get this mixed. This is coming better. So now what's happened, and I'll show this to you, once we mix the flour, baking powder, and salt into our creamed sugar and butter, it just looks a little more textured. So which was what we'd expect because we have the oils from the butter. It's looking more sandy would be the best way I could describe it. So I think we're good there. Just take that out. Okay, and I'll show you how that looks, and then we'll taste one of those shortbread bites. Let me show you. So that's how it'll look after you add flour, baking powder, and salt. But let's try one of those shortbread bites. Okay. Woo! They look lovely. Oh my goodness. Wow. Look here. See, they've gotten bigger, they've puffed up a little bit. My red ones have that pop of red. My other ones are sparkly with the green. Now I've got these little guys I'm definitely taking off because those are tiny. But what I want to try is I want to try a bigger one and make sure. So I'm going to take that off. Now I will say the one thing about shortbread bites is they are better, in my opinion, they are actually a cookie that's better cooled. Because I don't know, they're just the way they come together. Yes, I think they're done. Yes, they're done. They're done. They're hard. They're hard to. I don't know about you. If you've made shortbread, let me know. I find they're the hardest one to make sure that they're done. By looks, they're light brown. And that salty bite. That is why you use kosher salt. So they are done. But they have such a more crumbly interior that just makes it a little more difficult. Yum, yum. So those are finished. So we're going to let these cool over here. And I'm going to pop these two little buggers in. Ooh! Oh, those are good. The little ones. Those are the best. Okay. Alrighty. You know what? I'm going to keep them in for one more minute. Because I'm thinking to myself, part of what I love about the little ones is that they're just a little bit more done. So I'm going to keep these in for one more minute, which will make it 18 minutes. Let me see here. Okay, let me do one more minute. I think they would have been fine, but I actually like it a little bit more done. So, shortbread bites, what we're going to do here is we are going to be adding, and what I usually do is I add the anise extract to the first egg. Let me get my anise extract out. Oh, there's my almond extract. You don't want that. You could use that or vanilla. And I'm going to get my 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just going to measure this out over the egg. There we go. And I went like a heaping liquid teaspoon of the anise extract. And that I think is for us, for our family, the perfect amount of anise flavoring. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to get this going. We're going to be adding these eggs one at a time. So keep it on, I'm going to keep it fairly low. Just swirl that and let that go. When I hear my thing beeping, let me just get this other egg cracked. Got a lot of multitasking going on here, more than I'm used to. I'm either good at multitasking or I'm terrible. There's no in between. Let me get my oven mitt. Take these fellows out. They are all set. Okay. I'm going to add my other egg. Now, after my second egg, oh, I can smell the anise. It smells so good. After my second egg, I'm going to actually kind of beat down or scrape down and make sure things like I've turned over enough. So I'm going to turn that off, pull this up. I just want to make sure, there we go. You can see it's still quite dry. This is one of those doughs, like I was saying with the shortbread bites, that I sometimes have to add a little bit of water to get it to come together. So we're going to add one more egg. And I even wrote that for myself in the notes. I don't remember if the person that made this recipe wrote in the notes or if I just knew that figuring out. And that's kind of always been my go-to. If a dough isn't coming together, if it's seeming too dry and craggly, just a touch of moisture. And that's the main thing I will say is you want to make sure it's a touch of moisture. Because if you add too much, it becomes too wet. So you never want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to have this go up just a little bit more. Get it incorporated, see what happens, see if it's going to come together. My last egg is in there. We'll see. I don't know that it's going to come together, so we'll just check it out. I don't think it's going to come together. So what I do is I just add a touch of water to this because then I can just drizzle a little bit in. So I just drizzle a little bit in. I'll get a little bit more just in case I need it. But that way you've got control. It's almost, I just want a teeny bit more. There we go. Perfect. You see it. You can see it flip-flopping. Okay. It flip-flopped. It is ready. Okay, so we're going to take that out. Whoop, don't want to lose any. There's our dough. It smells so wonderful, the anise extract. And if you've used almond, you get that scent or vanilla scent. Part of what I love about cooking is just experiencing all the different senses, right? The sense of smell when you're working with your food, the sense of touch with texture, and of course the end. And the eyes. Obviously you want to see what you're doing. And then at the end, the tasting, which is what it's all about, honestly. Wouldn't cook any of these yummy things unless they were yummy. All right, so now what we're going to be doing is we want to add and fold in the almonds. So I'm looking to add, let me look here a second, about 2/3 cup. That I'm just going to eyeball. I feel like a palmful is about 1/3 cup. You can add more. Like, to me, when you're adding nuts, it's really eyeball. I need a wood spoon that is not stiff enough. There we go. Get those folded in. There we go. My dough looks like a perfect consistency. Excellent. Okay. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do, so this is what we got here. See that dough? Next thing I'm going to do is just get the tiniest bit of flour again. I just want to make sure it doesn't stick. Oh, I also want to up my my temperature. So I'm going to do that because they're going to be going in soon. Let me do that now, actually. I want to raise this to 325 convection, or if you're cooking on a regular stove, 300. Let me get my flour back in there. Just do a light flour. I'm going to be looking to make 2 logs with this dough. Okay. So I'm going to take, oh, and I got rid of my bench scraper. That's fine. I'll use a knife or I'll use my hands. So there's one. Okay. So now I am going to need a knife. Oh, you know what? I can use the back of the spoon. Go. That works. There we go. 2 pieces. And we're going to make some logs. Now I'm going to start them here and then I'm going to finish them on my cookie sheet. I've learned that it's just nice to start them here and then finish them there so that you don't have to transfer them when they're smaller. So I've got these, move them over, get a fresh cookie sheet out. I feel like I'm going to butter fingers all over all of my cabinets because right now my fingers are a little buttery. I'm going to put my silk hat down. And I'm going to move this over, and I'm just going to make two of these. And I'm trying to think how, they're about 2, does it say how big? No, I just eyeball. So I'm going to measure it for you because I do have my one thing still nearby so that I can give you a more exact measurement. What I'm aiming to do, and I'll show you, is I want them to be about the same width because I want some uniformity, and I want them to be the same, about the same height too, again for uniformity, and so when we're baking them that they bake off well that way. So biscotti are cookies that you bake twice. In fact, that might even be what biscotti means. I don't remember if that's, for some reason I feel like I'm having a little bit of a runny nose. Oh, I feel like that's maybe what it means, is bake twice. So if anyone knows that, you could put that down. So I'm just gonna get this going. And I can see my beautiful almonds in this. And I'm going to lift up just a little bit so it's, I know it's on my sill pad, but I don't want to smear it into the sill pad. So let me show you what I've done here. Okay, so I formed 2 logs, so to speak, similar in width, similar in depth. I would say, let me get my, where did I put my, oh, here it is. Oh my goodness, I lose my, so I'm going to give you a rough idea of how tall they are. They look to be about 3/4 inch high. Those are mine. It's not that that has to be how high they're going to be. That's just what works. This is just what I've done in the past. And then they're going to get baked twice. So they're going to get baked once like this. Then we will slice them, and then we'll bake them on their sides to crisp up. And then they get dipped. So these are going to go in the oven. Check how long. Okay, so these go in for 10 minutes until finished. And I laugh at that because if I recall, that 10 minutes is never enough, because basically what you need the logs to be is done enough that they're almost, when you cut them, they're almost bready, so they have that crumb inside. But if they're not done, if they've not developed that crumb, then you're just going to see batter, which is what you don't want. So you do want to make sure they're done enough. And once I check them, I'll tell you what I'm looking for, what I'm feeling for. Okay, in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to get tidied up a little bit because we have some more to do on this. I'm going to take my stand mixer. We don't need that any longer, so we're going to put that over on another counter. All right. So if you're just joining us, I'm Philly, and you're in my kitchen today as I'm getting ready for the holidays, for Christmas. We celebrate Christmas, and I'm making Christmas cookies. Put this over here. So far today, we've made dough for Rugalah, and that is in the fridge chilling. We'll be rolling that out in just a little bit. And we have made holiday shortbread bites. In fact, let me show you those real quick. I'll be taking these off actually to finish cooling. So we made these yummy holiday shortbread bites. And we also made my anise almond biscotti that, again, you could make as just almond biscotti, or you could just make without nuts. You can make vanilla biscotti. It's a great biscotti recipe that you could change up some of the ingredients to make it what you like. And those are doing the first bake because biscotti need to be baked twice after they're sliced. And those will eventually be chocolate dipped. Again, I don't think we're going to be dipping them in chocolate today. I don't think I'm going to have the time today to do it because they have to really fully cool before you do that. So I tend to make them one day and dip them the next day. And but let me talk a little bit about that actually. So when I do dip my biscotti, what I like to do is what I would always suggest is get the best chocolate you can buy at your price point. And that you like. So for me, one of my favorite chocolates, and it's not the most expensive, but one of my favorite chocolates is Ghirardelli. I just, I feel like taste is such a subjective thing, right? We all like different things for different reasons. And for whatever reason, for me, Ghirardelli does it right. I just like their balance of creaminess to chocolatiness. And so what I do to get a really good dip is I use half of regular chocolate chips and half of their 60% cacao, however that's said. They're a little bit stronger chocolate. You could just go all 60%, but I also know that I'm giving these as gifts and not everyone likes it to be a little bit more bitter. So I feel like the blend just deepens the semi-sweet chips a little bit more, and so that's what I do with generally dipping anything. I always add that like half of the deeper chocolate just to kind of make it a little richer, and I feel like that's something that is pleasing to most palates. And so that's what I would melt together. I do melt my chips in the microwave, but you could use a double boiler, of course. And then I just dip and I let them set, or I put them in the fridge for a quick set, and I put them in an airtight container. Biscotti are great because they last such a long time, which is wonderful. So I'm going to start tidying up, getting ready for the next part of our process, which will be cutting our biscotti and then making our Rugalah, that is something that's fun to watch. So if you are just joining us, I hope you will like the rest of the stream, which will involve more of the cookie making and some of the getting our biscotti ready for later, which they'll be dipped. Okay. We don't need any. Yeah, we won't. No, we don't need our flour. That's right. Well, I'm just going to leave it out just in case. I'm not sure. It's with the Rugalah that I'm thinking about right now, but Rugalahs are a little different, and I will explain to you what I'm going to do with the Rugalah in just a second before we get ready to roll them out. Let me put this stuff away. Okay, I don't need any more of this. This over here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to get my flour all into the sink. I want to get this wiped off a little bit, because this will need for our Rugalah. Okay. If you are joining us and haven't popped a hello in the chat, please do so. If you feel comfortable, please do so. I'd love to know who's joining us today. We've had some friends pop in earlier. We had Nicole, we had my friend Tracy, we had DS and Ruby, which was fun to chit chat for everyone a little bit. And I'm wondering, on this Sunday, it's a pretty decent day. It's kind of chilly up here in the Northeast. And it's partly cloudy. It's not the worst day, but it's it's just kind of an in-between day, so to speak. I get things tidied. I know Hubs will appreciate that if I can get some of this stuff tidied up before he comes out here. He is watching the World Cup. And so if you are watching the World Cup, oh, hey, Poe, are you watching the World Cup by chance? And I was wondering what the score is. Because I think he's watching the final right now. So if anyone's watching it, let me know because I am out of the loop. I use my phone for my camera, so I can't check and see how things are going. All right, there we go. Got a little tidying. We have time to kill, so we might as well make good use of it, right? Sorry for any of the clatter right near the microphone. Okay, there we go. Let me just do one more thing to so I can get this washed. So, as I was mentioning earlier, for our Rugalah, we are going to be, they're definitely a different kind of cookie, and I love the technique that's used. Now, I don't know, Rugalah, I know, is a kind of cookie that is made a lot of different ways, depending upon different families. Just like when I was making the anise cookies my grandma made, I found out that even though it seemed like they should all really be the same recipe, because they all kind of look the same, that there were little different additions or deletions in different recipes that were different from my grandma's, even though they all ultimately kind of looked the same and I imagine tasted very similar. So Rugalah definitely is something like that. There's a lot of bakeries around here that have Rugalah, and frankly, they all can look a little different. So what you fill your Rugalah with or roll them in is what makes them different. So one of the things we'll be making in just a minute is we'll be putting together some sugar and cinnamon, and instead of flouring my board here once I roll out my Rugalah, we're going to actually be spreading out the sugar and cinnamon mixture. So you can see with this very simple dough that just is made of butter and cream cheese and flour, we are now going to be adding some of the flavorings. And with those flavorings, the cinnamon and sugar really come through. So after you roll out your dough, what you roll the dough up in to make these little crescent shapes is up to you. So as I was mentioning earlier, I like to roll in little mini chocolate chips, and then chopped walnuts, and then the last ones I do with mini chocolate chips and chopped walnuts, which really tend to be the people's favorite. I think especially around the holidays, people like, I don't know, they like more, right? They kind of like the idea that they get chocolate and nuts in the cookie all at once. For me, my favorite of the Rugalah that I make are just the walnut ones. I really like what the nuts bring to it. I think it's super yummy. But that's my personal. But there's a lot of Rugalah that I have seen and had that use jams, and they roll them up in jams, and that is very common. So you could use any flavor of jam. Hey, the Shortbread Bites are ready for tasting if you want to taste those. They're right over there. I gotta move those soon. Do you like Shelby's all festive too? There's Hobbs.
He's still in pajamas.
He's still in pajamas. He's enjoying his birthday weekend. Relaxed style. And you know what? It's one of those days. It's a baking day. We were busy yesterday. So it's just nice to hang out. And we are going to be busier later today. Later today, we're going to go with the kids shopping. Oh, what time do we want to be there? We need to leave at 2. Okay. Yeah, I can make that happen. So it's funny. We were going to meet them at a certain time, and now it just got shoved up closer. So I'm going to be in a little bit of a stretch, but that'll work. Hey, you didn't tell me how the Shortbread Bites were, babe. You just closed the door. Hopefully he'll let me know. Let me see what we posted. So,
Very good.
Are they really good? Okay, I think everyone thinks they were horrible because you said not a word. They were awesome, you said. Okay. So I love what you said, Maho. You said, I'm scared I would drink myself silly if Argentina was to lose, which is imminent. Oh, so you don't know how they're doing. All my teams I trusted let me down, so I went away to make myself salad and listening to you. I had an early light lunch around noon. How is the hangover doing? Well, I will have to say, as much as Archie likes to give us hard time, we never have hangovers. He likes to embellish the drinking that goes on here, and there is not a lot. We like to have a drink, but we definitely don't let it go too far, for sure. Because like, I remember having hangovers when I was in my college days and my 20s, and those are not fun. I have no time for hangovers anymore. So I remember when I was with some other moms. It was actually the Mother's Day weekend. So I don't know if you celebrate Mother's Day weekend out there, but we just celebrate so many stinking things here in the States. And one of them was Mother's Day weekend. I went with some of my girlfriends for a girls' weekend, and we came back on Sunday, Mother's Day. Well, we had done a little too much enjoying of alcoholic drinks, and it had been so long that I felt so bad. And I think I was in my 30s when that happened. And after that, so on Mother's Day, instead of like having a lovely day of relaxation, being around my children and husband, I felt horrible. Like, I cannot even tell you how horrible I felt. I was in bed all day. And, you know, and that had not happened since my 20s. And I think that was the time I realized that I do not want to ever feel that way. So I do love, as you all know, I love a cocktail. I love wine. There's lots of things I love, but I just know I can't love it too much. If I love it too much, it doesn't love me back. And then I'm real sad and grumpy, and I feel yucky. So I want to stay loving the things I love. So I want to make sure I have the right ratios. All right, so I'm going to check these biscotti. I don't know if they look super done, so let me just see. Let me turn off my timer. I'll tell you what I'm looking for. Okay, so here are my biscotti so far. You see that they've risen, they've gotten bigger, but I'm touching it here and it's too soft. So I want these to actually be almost like cookie loaves. I want them to be able to be cut, but I don't want them to squish. And if you feel like your loaves are going to squish, they are not done enough. You don't need them to be rock hard. Okay, so I'm going to set it for 3 minutes. I think they're a ways away. So you don't want your biscuit, for the first bake, you don't want them to be rock hard, but you want it to be, I guess, I'm trying to think. You want it to be like you're almost cutting into a loaf of bread, meaning you want it to be not crispy, but you want it to be taut enough on the outside so that when you can feel good that when you use a serrated knife to cut through, that again, it's going to be fully cooked, because they cook twice. They cook first as a loaf, then we're going to slice them, lay them on their sides, and then they're going to cook off as the cookies that you usually see, those little biscotti. But this part is important, and in my experience, I think it'd be hard to overcook this step. You just want to make sure you can run your knife through without breaking apart. So I hope that helps, but do not try to cut them too early. I'd rather you err on them being a little overdone at this stage than being underdone. So hopefully that helps. Meanwhile, I need to get these off. Number one, I want them to finish cooling, and actually they're pretty much cool. And number two, I'm going to need this because I'm going to need it for my Rugalah and for my biscotti. So I'm going to transfer these to, let me find out what I'm going to transfer them to. Let's see here. 1 second. Okay. I'm going to transfer them to this plate. Only because, and I'm going to use a little spatula. Okay, let me get these transferred. There we go. We'll keep these kind of together. A little runaway. And then we'll get just our green ones. There we go. I cannot, these are, so I do feel like the shortbread are the unsung heroes. They are, in many ways, you might see them and you think they're unremarkable, but they, if you like shortbread, they are just so good. They are just so good. Oh my God, they're so good. And that one fell. They are addictive, but so delicious. Okay. and I can eat them all day long, which is what makes them dangerous. So now with this, I'm just gonna actually fling this off, get a paper towel, brush off the extra. Okay, there we go. And now that's what's nice about the Sil Pat mats, and now they're ready for either biscotti or Rugalah. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna actually just get this off a little bit so it's ready for Rugalah time. Let's see how this is doing. That 3 minutes went super quick. Okay, I'm touching and they're not done yet. All right, I'm gonna adjust, I think, that next time. Because I'm gonna just make sure, yep, it's on the right temperature. I'm gonna do 3 more minutes. Because I think what happens is I make this every year and I know when it's done or when it's not done, but I probably haven't adjusted the time. So I'm gonna put a range because everyone's ovens are different. And when I type this then for everyone, I'll make sure. Oh, so you know what I just realized? I put in notes 10 to 20 minutes. So right now it'll be 16 minutes. So I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna say 15 to 20 minutes. So right now it'll be 16 minutes. I think it's more like 20 minutes, to be honest. Okay, so let's talk about the Rugalah. So what I'm gonna get ready so that it's all set for us once we are ready to make the Rugalah is I'm gonna get the filling ready. So for the filling, we do a 1 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and then we'll be adding some walnuts later. So the first thing we want to get together is the cup of sugar with the 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And by the way, I did realize I wrote down the name of the person that came up with the Shortbread Bites. It is Ryan Handler, R-I-A-N. So that was interesting. And again, my friend Debbie did this one. And this one I just put my name because I kind of adapted it to biscotti. Okay, so let me get my sugar and cinnamon and just regular sugar we're using. Let me get my regular sugar and my cinnamon. Now what I like to do, because it's a lot of cinnamon to sugar, is I put it together in this. Let me show you. Second. Got my container. And then I just mix it up and shake it, which is sometimes, I like when we can be ingenious about how we put together things. So we have a cup of sugar. Oh, and I gotta wash this. Oh, I know. You know what I'm gonna do? Because I'm afraid it's gonna have moisture, and then it's gonna add moisture to my sugar, which I don't want to do. So I'm gonna get a 1/2 cup measure and just put 2 of these in. So I don't do that because I've just washed my cup measure, and I don't want to get any water in here. So it's going to be a cup. So here's a 1/2 cup. Here's a 1/2 cup. So this is what I like to do with a mixture like this. 1/2 cup, 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to be adding in here 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, which is quite a bit of cinnamon. So let me get my little teaspoon holder or measuring spoon. There we go. 1, 2. That's quite a bit. And you could obviously mix it with a spoon. You could mix it with a little whisk. That would be fine. What I like to do is actually put on a tight lid. Make sure it's on tight. And shake it. I feel like that's a great way to get it all mixed up because it's a lot of cinnamon to sugar. It's very cinnamony, which you want. Makes it really good. Okay, let me take a peek at my Rugalah. Not my Rugalah, my biscotti. See how they're doing. Again, it's the peel method. We're close, but I think it's going to be a full. So we just did 16 minutes. I'm going to do another 3 minutes. Okay. Oh my goodness. Wait a second. Okay. I'm going to do another 3 minutes. So I'm going to make my adjustment here so I don't forget when I type this. And I'm going to write 15 to 20 minutes. I don't know whose oven it's going to be done in 10. And that I think is from the original recipe. But I don't know the last time it's been done in 10. Okay. I guess it could be done in 10 if you made your loaves super thin. Like we said, mine was about 3/4 inch high. So I suppose that could happen depending how much you flatten it out. So, but I'm just gonna, I still think 15 to 20 is good. So I mix this up. The other thing I wanna make sure we have ready are mini chocolate chips. So I know my favorite brand, Ghirardelli, makes mini chocolate chips, but they are hard to find. And sadly, this year I did not find any mini ones. So Toll House, Nestle, has mini ones, and they're fine. They're fine, but I do love the Ghirardelli ones. You do need the mini if you're going to use chocolate chips in these. The big ones are too big for the tiny little cookie, so you need the little mini chips. So I'm going to put these in a bowl. Get these in a bowl. Oh, and then scissors. Sorry for walking away all the time. Oh, that fell. Okay, let's get my chocolate chips in there. That's actually more than I think we're going to need at all. Oh, okay, I'll just leave those. Andy will enjoy munching on those. Get a little crispy. Okay. There we go. So we got a little chocolate chips. Our Rugalah. And now we're going to chop some walnuts. So you could chop it with a knife, but I usually don't do that. I'm going to show you how I chop my walnuts. Just keep that there. You get my walnuts. One rule of thumb I had heard, and these actually just went on sale, which was great, is, you know, advice when buying nuts is to try to buy the nuts whole if you can, which as you saw I did not do whole almonds because I cannot make a slivered almond. So when I'm using slivered almonds in my biscotti, I'm not buying them whole. But chopping nuts, chopping almonds, chopping walnuts, chopping pecans, that's pretty easy to do. So if you get the nuts whole, they tend to be better quality. So there's none ready yet, but I will let you know when the Rugalah are done, right? Because those are great. Do you want a walnut while you're here? I just opened up a fresh can. Let me just taste to make sure that they are good. Oh, they're good. They're very yummy. Okay. Oh, the timer went off, so let's check. Let's see. Yes. Oh, okay. Almost yes. I need 4 more minutes. We're going to be a full 20 minutes this time. So the one is done. The other is not quite done. Just needs a minute longer. Okay. So while it's doing that, I'm going to get my my walnuts chopped. So what I like to do is I like to put my walnuts in a baggie, and I like to use just like a roller or a pounder to help chop them. You could run your knife through them, absolutely, but I like it this way. So if you have a way you like to chop nuts, then do it your way, but this is the way I like to do it. Part of the reason I like to do it this way is because, especially for this cookie, using this helps actually get you a little bit smaller nut. Like you get some different sizes, which is great. And because I feel like some of the nut that gets actually crushed becomes one with the sugar, and it just really adds to its nuttiness. I don't know, like I know I'm going crazy with you, this nuttiness, but it works. So I'm even going to do just a little bit of pounding, make sure those are all chopped up. My mom actually had a nut chopper. It was this contraption that you'd put the nuts in this thing on top, you'd crank it, and there were these blades, and they'd come down chopped. It was really cool. I do not have that, and the problem is I don't really have the room for it. I have so many, I'm a definite kitchen gadget. I have a kitchen gadget issue problem. So I always have to be mindful of Do I really need it? Do I have space for it? And to me, this method has always worked well for me, so I just would never get one because it wouldn't make sense. So what I wanted you to see though, and I know our biscotti timer went off, is that what's nice is there's such difference. Let me show you in the camera. There's such difference to the texture. So you have almost some walnut dust, and then you have a little bit larger walnut chunks, and everything in between. And that difference of almost the dust to the chunks and everything in between is why I like that method. Because especially for this cookie, the dust combines with that cinnamon sugar and just spreads that flavor better, in my opinion. And as I said to you, my favorite of the Rugalah are just the plain walnut ones. And I think that's why. Okay, I'm gonna put this, one second, put this over here. Okay. All right, so I need to get these, and I'm going to slide them over and cut them. 1 second, I need my mitt. Oh, the problem is it's a little bit breaking apart, which is not making me happy. It'll be fine, but not super happy about that. Okay, I'm gonna bring this here. Oh, it broke. That actually has never happened. So the last time I made these, I made them on parchment paper, but my parchment paper is almost gone, and I was afraid, in fact, I'm afraid I don't have enough for one whole piece, so I didn't want to do it that way. Now I'm going to do something a little different because I want to get my Rugalah baked off right now. So I am going, let me let this cool here. I'm going to actually cut these, and I'm going to let them cool someplace else and not bake them off right away. Usually I would bake them off right away, but I want to get my Rugalah baked first because of the change in schedule that my hubs just talked to me about for what we're doing later today. So I'm going to show you how this part works. Put this there, turn off my timer. Okay, so now you need you need a serrated edge knife. Okay, so I have a serrated edge. You know what that means, just making sure everyone knows it's got the teeth underneath there. And that's going to help you in this part. And then I like to go on a bias, which just means on an angle, and you gently cut. And you cut the cookies, and I'm cutting them, you can cut them as thick as you like, but I personally am cutting them about, probably about a ½ inch. Now this one's going to be ruined because it broke, so I'm just embracing it. This one's cracked and broke, and he's a little thicker, but that's okay. I'm gonna put it like that. There. Oh, yeah. And let me show you a better slice to show you what it looks like then. Let me show you. So you can see there's got a crumb to it inside, but it is fully cooked, and that's what we are waiting for. You do not want to take these out before they're fully cooked inside, or you'll be sad with your biscotti. So now I'm just going to slice these all, and some of them will be crumbly, and it's okay. You know what? This is homemade food, and when we're doing homemade food, we are not striving for perfection. That's for companies and stores to work on, but we are the homemade cooks, and it is what it is, right? And that's what people love about the cooking that you do, is they love that it's homemade. They don't want the factory cookies. They want the homemade cookies. In fact, someone was asking me like why I make so many cookies, and I said because I actually give away a lot of the cookies. Okay, so now I'm going to turn them on their side first, then put them to cool. Turn on the side first, put it to cool. So the thing to remember is you just want the inside fully cooked. You want the inside showing a crumb, which means that it's fully cooked. That's the most important thing. Okay, put this here, put that there. And meanwhile, these crumbs, I'm gonna save for Hubs because those are snackable. Let me just do a quick taste. Mmm. The perfect amount of anise. Perfect amount of anise flavored. Okay, so now I'm gonna just do the second loaf. This one, you can see that the first loaf I cooked was the one that took longer to cut. This one is easier to cut because it was done absolutely enough. And I'm just going to start taking these and transferring them. My girl Shelby was getting drinks of water, so she's jingling all over the place. But that's cute. We love you, Shelby. Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. I just saw that you were. Let me just scroll up so I can see all that you were talking about. Okay, so you were thinking, yes. So biscotti, they don't get hard as they sit and cool. You cut them, and then we are going to bake them again until they are hard, or as hard as you like them. Yes, they have texture and flavor. Yes, so what makes them hard is the second bake. So we aren't going to bake them off right now. Usually I do, but I want to get the Rugalah baking because those have to get baked right now. But typically what I do is I would bake these right away. But they can sit for a little bit. They will do just fine sitting for a little bit and baking a little bit later. And then when you bake them, when you bake these the second time, they will crisp up. And so this all comes to personal preference. Again, that's what I love about cooking, is you can make things the way you like them. So how I like my biscotti is I like them pretty hard. I like them to get soft when you dip them in a hot, liquid like coffee or tea. That's how I like my biscotti. If you like yours to have a little bit of bite to them, meaning that they're not just super hard, you don't have to crisp them up as much. So what these are waiting for us to do, I'm just going to give you those measurements right now. Where did my, oh my goodness, maybe I went on top of it? Nope. I just lost my my little finger. Okay, I'll find it. But I will let you know what the temperature oven that I bake these on, and then you actually flip them. So I will, and you bake them you don't want to bake them too high temperature because you want them to kind of dry out. So you bake them on one side, then you flip them, and then you bake them on the other side. And when they are as hard as you like them, then you take them out and you let them cool on racks to finish drying out and cool off completely. Then you put them in an airtight container, or you can dip them and put them in an airtight container. So these are just going to hang out for right now. I'm just going to put these right here. I'm just going to sit tight and push my coffee maker back a little bit. There we go. Those are sitting tight. And I gotta find what happened to my my recipe card. That is the darndest thing. Nope. That is so weird. I just had that recipe card and now it is all of a sudden gone. And of course it's the anise one. Oh, there it is. I saw it. It's when I was adding to say on their 1520. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my brain. So then at that same oven temperature, which is 350 or 325 convection, if you're using convection, you will bake them for an additional 12 to 15 minutes. And again, I flip them on either side. Like I'll do like maybe 10 minutes on one side, 10 minutes or up to 10 minutes on the other side to get them as crisp as I like them. For me, I don't want them too dark. I like them getting the light brown, but I just don't want them to be obviously caramelized looking, right? I don't want them dark brown. I just want that light brown. And then you cool them on a wire rack. So it'll be the same heat, but it'll be on a little bit on one side, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then 5 to 10 minutes on the other side. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing in just a little bit. But first, I want to get back to our Rugalah. So our Rugalah, let me check the oven so that I can make sure that's all set to go. It's 350. So I have it at 325 convection. So my oven is all good and all set. I'm gonna put these crumbs in a bowl for Hubs because he does like the biscotti too. And he would not want me to throw these away because they're great to snack on. Also, the crumbs would be great sprinkled on ice cream. Just adding texture to something. So I'm going to put this over here in case he wants. I'm going to grab another shortbread bite. Go over to my favorite. They're so good. Okay, so now we're going to roll it out. The Rugalah are so fun. These are one of the first cookies that I made with my boys because they could easily help with them, and they loved helping with them. They also loved helping with the sugar cookies that we used to make, you know, all the different shapes, and we just decorated them with sugar. I feel badly because even though I loved eating my sugar cookies when as a little girl with the frosting, I'm just being honest, I didn't want to deal with the frosting. So I just did. My boys grew up just with the sugar, so I'm probably a bad mama for that. So for our Rugalah dough, we have our fillings, which are mini chocolate chips and chopped walnuts. And you saw the way I did it, so we got lots of that walnut dust besides the nice chunks there. And then we combined 1 cup of sugar with 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. So this is what we're going to use to actually, instead of flour, roll out our dough. And that is the unique thing, because then this rolls into the dough, flavoring it and making it totally yummy. Since I'm aiming to have 1 cookie be nut-free, now my nuts have touched this board, so if there's someone that has an allergy, this is not going to be nut-free because I would be using a board, but that's not why I'm looking for nut-free. I'm looking for nut-free because my son doesn't really like nuts in his cookies, my son Matt. So I always did my chocolate chip ones first because then it kept the nuts out of the dough, because you'll see what happens once I do the other 2 cookies. So first I'm going to do my cookie with the chocolate chips. So I'm going to get one of those discs of dough out that's been chilling. And you'll see why we did what we did. So I'm going to unwrap it. Listen. It is firm, which is exactly what you want. And I am going to make sure my cookie sheets are ready. Yeah, I just want to get this one with the crumbs off. So I'll be cooking some of them on there. Oops, there we go. That's what's great about the Silpats. Especially when you're doing cookies, like cookie crumbs do not affect another thing. So it's fine, just use Silpat for each cookie. Throw away that. Now, what I'm going to be doing is putting some of this cinnamon sugar mixture on my board instead of flour. And you're going to use a pretty big amount of it. And now I'm getting the dough a little bit warmed up with my hands. I'm incorporating that cinnamon sugar into it, which I want to do. Even rolling the sides. You want to be plentiful with the cinnamon sugar. And then we're going to take this, and I'm even going to put some on here, and we're going to start rolling it out. And we're aiming for a disc that's about 9 inches diameter. So a circle, a 9-inch diameter circle. It does not need to be perfect. You'll see why it doesn't need to be perfect. You'll see some of my dough splits, like right here, there's a little bit. Right here, there's a little bit of a split. Do not worry about that. Do not stress about that. These are a no-stress cookie, and they're very forgiving. So generally speaking, we want to make a circle about 9 inches diameter. And you'll see why the splits don't matter and why it's forgiving. My circle right now is beginning to look more like a square. Am I worried about it? Nope, I'm not worried about it. And you will see why. And all this flavor is getting rolled into it, which is what makes it so good. There we go. Again, looking more like a square than a circle, but I'm not worried. Oops. I do like to flip it every now and again because what you don't want to do is you don't want it to stick. Okay, we're about ready. So this is the part that I would do when I was making it with my kids. I would let them roll a little bit, but this is where some of the finesse goes in. The other part is quite easy, and that's where they can come in with it, okay? That's about, you know what, I gotta say I'm probably more like a 10-inch circle because I'm also looking for the thickness of the dough. Okay, so I want you to see real quick. See how there's that split? I'm not worried about that. And let me show you why. So now I'm gonna get a pie cutter. Whoopsie! You don't need a pie cutter. You could use just a knife, but if you have a pie cutter, it makes it even easier. Getting my pie cutter out and putting my board here. I'm gonna take a little bit, I love them to have flavor, so I'm gonna take a little bit of my cinnamon sugar and just kind of spread it on the top because I want a nice layer. Again, this is a holiday cookie. We are like, we're adding flavor. We are not cutting corners here. And I'm taking my chocolate chips and I'm spreading it around right there. You want a good amount of chocolate chips because a lot are gonna fall out, you'll see. So I'm gonna spread those guys out like so. Put a pretty good amount on there so that it is well covered. Press. After you get them spread out how you like, just a little more. I'm gonna press them down because you want to try to press them a little bit into the dough. You don't have to go crazy pressing, but you just want to get them pressed into the dough. Then what you're doing is you're cutting this into 16 triangles. So that's why it doesn't matter that these little splits are. So like I'm going to take one of these splits, I'm going to cut it right down in half. And then I'm going to go in 4. We're just doing math here. We did 2, now we did 4. Now we're going to be making 8. And this is precisely how I do it. And now I'm going to do all of these sections into one more to make 16ths. If the dough comes up, you just put it right back down. Just go each side. And you can see this is why it doesn't matter about the edges, because the edges aren't going to make a difference in the world when you see how this gets rolled out. And this is the part my boys had fun with. Now I will tell you, I also did this cutting portion because this was the part where I needed to be a little more precise. Now I just lost some chips on that one, so I'm going to put those chips back on and press them in. And then this is what you do. 1 second, let me get a couple more chips there that fell off. Okay, this is what you do. You take a little, any one of them, you start someplace, and you pull that little, what's it called, the little triangle a little ways out, and you're going to roll it. You're going to roll it into like a crescent roll, but it's a Rugalah roll. And you roll and press, roll and press, roll and press, and you come up with this adorable, Shelby's in the bed so I gotta walk around, this adorable little crescent roll, okay? The Rugalah. And you've got your little mini chocolate chips all in there. I like to embellish them with a couple little mini chips on top because some fell out. And then you put that on your cookie sheet. So let me bring my cookie sheet over here. And that's what we're going to do for all of the cookies. We're going to literally roll up the filling just the way we did with these chocolate chips. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to roll. And this is the part the boys enjoyed. They roll them up and they put them on. So it's easy. This is the part that's fun because what I love with the kids helping with this part is it's fun and easy. And in a very simple way, they can make these pretty little Rugalah. And I think they felt really pleased with that they could, you know, even at their ages when they were little, make them look super pretty for these little cookies. So you can see that up to adding the chocolate chips, that's where you can have fun with the fillings. And we could have spread jam across the circle instead of the chocolate chips. You can see when we do the next ones, we are going to be, the next time I am just going to add the nuts, and then I'll combine all of them. So this is where you get creative. This is where you make it the way your family likes it, the fillings they want to have, the fillings they'll enjoy, which is honestly the reason I ever added chocolate chips, these little mini chocolate chips in the first place. I added the mini chocolate chips because I knew my boys were not having the chopped walnuts at their ages, at least at that point. They were just not eating cookies with walnuts in them. So that's how the chips came through. It's a little story, little cookie story there. So, and Poe, I saw that you were saying that tea is my favorite with cookies. Yes, I love tea with cookies. I do love coffee with cookies too. But tea, I don't know if I mentioned it to you before, Poe, but tea was my first love. So my grandma introduced me to tea when I was little. This is my dad's mom, the one that I do the recipes on here with for in her honor. And although this was not one of her recipes, I'll talk about her Christmas cookies in a minute. In fact, right now I'm feeling a little guilty that I'm not making one of her Christmas cookies, but I'll talk about that. But she got me started on tea, and she would sweeten it nicely, which I, of course, very much appreciated as a little girl. And she always added cream to her tea. So I added, milk to her tea. So I grew up adding milk to my tea. And still to this day, unless it's a certain flavor to me that does not lend itself to milk, like obviously herbal teas, I wouldn't add milk to. I love a hot cinnamon tea I've talked about before that I enjoy from Harney & Sons. And I don't add milk to that. But like all my teas, like English breakfast and Lady Grey, Earl Grey, I add tea to those. So I'm sorry, I add milk to those. I can't talk apparently. So I'm almost done rolling these up. You can see the rolling is super quick. So if you want a cookie that has impact but really does not take that long, this is the one to do. I'm telling you, it's a easy to work with dough. You put it together really quick, and remember you can make it the night before and just let the dough chill in the fridge. And if you're doing it the same day, you just need to let it chill for, I think that was at least an hour. But it can chill for a couple hours. Like it can chill overnight, for goodness sakes, as I mentioned. Now, I am done with the chocolate chip ones, so I'm gonna get them in the oven. These are gonna cook for 20 minutes at our temperature. So I'm gonna check them at 15 because it's convection and these will cook off a little bit earlier. So I'm putting them in. I'm gonna set the timer for 15 minutes and check them. How they do. Everything over here is so buttery. I have so much cleaning up to do, like this whole oven area when I'm done. I'm going to take my bench scraper and I'm going to move my chips over because I don't want my chips in my next version because I'm doing the walnut version, but I don't want to get rid of those because I will use them for when I combine the version with the walnuts, when I do the combo of chips and walnuts. So I'm going to I need to wipe my nose really quick because it's itchy. All right. I'll wash my hands. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to make the walnut version. We're going to do the same process with the walnut version, but we're going to use walnuts instead of chocolate chips. So we're going to start by putting some sugar down below. Let me get this little bit of dough out of there. A second. Okay, start by putting some sugar down below. I'm going to go and get my I'm going to go and get my dough. Let's see. My dough, which is all nice and firm. And actually, the difference here is I'm actually going to put some of my nuts here below also. Because I want, and I'm looking actually for more of the dust, because I want that to get into the dough when I'm starting to roll that out, because that makes the Rugalah even more nutty, if that makes sense. It makes them ooze the walnut flavor, which I love. So I'm unwrapping it. There we go. There we go. I'm getting some more of the cinnamon sugar. Again, don't be stingy. Don't be stingy with the sugar. Just getting this warmed up a little bit. All in this goodness. Oh, I'm glad you're learning a lot. I appreciate you watching, Poe. To be honest, I have such envy over the things that you make. You make such beautiful, healthy, and vibrant colored, but very creative dishes. I love watching and seeing what you come up with. In fact, as I was mentioning the other morning, I'm really frustrated with Twitter because my feed, when I just go to the feed, it just doesn't show it doesn't show my peeps. I mean, it shows me people that I'm technically following, but they're not the people that I usually converse with. So I feel like I have to always go searching. And that's why you might notice that, like, I'll all of a sudden comment on it, and there'll be a couple days and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen any of my post stuff, so I've got to go look that up. It's definitely, it's just frustrating to me. I don't know if it's because of the takeover that happened or what, but definitely not seeing the usual. Like, I mean, I have to go searching even for Archie's, which makes me sad that, like, it won't automatically put Archie stuff in my feed either. So really, you know, it's fine. Like, we can obviously find each other, but the hard part is part of what was nice about how the feed was done is that it was convenient. It was all set there for us. Lay down. Oh, you know what? You want your collar off. 1 second, friends. I need to take her collar off. She's looking at me with this look up. Please take my bells off. Okay, you were such a good sport with the bells, Shelby. I'm taking them off. There we go. It's funny because she does not hear much anymore. So I just kind of assumed she didn't hear the bells, but she probably just felt the little hat around her neck, and I think she was just done with it. So we wash my hands again. Okay. So now, as you can see, we're just rolling out this piece, not worrying about little cracks in it, not worrying about that's a perfect circle. We're just getting it rolled out because this dough is forgiving and it's so yummy. The cream cheese in it just makes it so yummy. There we go. And then we're going to do the same process. We're going to add more walnuts to it, and we're going to roll it up just like we did with the chocolate chips. Go. Okay. So, Poe, what I'm wondering is who has most impacted you and your cooking? Because, you know, I've often talked about my grandma. My mom has impacted my cooking. My mom was the cook in our family, and, you know, definitely some of the things that I love and that I've even done live streams are like with the meatloaf and and there's even more dishes I still need to share of hers, you know, are because of things she made, you know, the way she'd make our house smell growing up, that would just make me hungry instantly. You know, I just have such fond memories. My sister has inspired my cooking. My nieces, being vegetarian and vegan, have inspired my cooking and influenced my cooking. And then, of course, all the different chefs and everyone I follow. But I'm wondering who has influenced your cooking. So now I'm going to add just some actual walnuts to this. So I'm going to sprinkle. I'm going to be pretty generous. No stingy on the holiday. So I'm going to just get those spread out. I'm going to add some more cinnamon sugar because, again, we're not being stingy. And then we're going to take this and spread it all out to the edges. And then we're going to gently press it in so that some of it hopefully will stick as we roll these lovelies up. Okay. So I'd love to know who influenced you, Mapo, and anyone else that's watching. I'd love to know who influenced you, or if you're watching this video later and you just want to comment below, who has influenced your cooking? Who has influenced how you cook, what you cook? Yes, Shelby is loved very much. Oh, you love, wait, I'm looking back up at your comments. You, that's how you, so you drink your tea that same way, only with sweet treats. And you love your coffee black, though no sugar. Oh, I would, you know, so health-wise, I wish I loved my coffee that. My youngest actually has trained himself to drink it that way, but I do like it with sugar and some milk. So I actually just use milk. And your timeline did that too. Yes, I agree. The timelines are really frustrating right now. So your grandmother, we used to celebrate and cook at her house, and the family would gather at her house. Your mom was career-oriented. Yes, okay. So your grandma influenced you too. Oh my gosh. So we have that in common, both of our grandmas. And actually, I'll say my grandma on my mom's side, she cooked a lot too. Both loved to cook. I just think my dad's grandma influenced more of my cooking than my other grandma did. So, and I was closer with her too. All right, so now we're just going to cut these into the 18 parts. We're doing our fractions now. We're getting into math class, right? So I just did it into quarters. Now I'm doing it into eighths. And now I'm gonna do it. And again, you can see with the pie cutter how easy it makes it. Like you can go one way or you can go the other way. It's really, it just makes it so quick and easy. All right, there we go. All right, now we're just gonna roll these little babies up. I'm gonna get my cookie sheet here, my other one, so that I can start putting them on. A little cookie sheet. And roll these suckers up. Now, I like to do what I did with the chocolate chips, because when I give these cookies away, I want everyone to know which kind they were getting. So with just the walnuts, let me show you how those look. You can see I put like a little walnut on top so that they see that this is just nuts. So I can get a couple here just so I can embellish them. And I'm just gonna roll them up and put them there. And so any of these little nuts that fall off, I just pop them right back on top. So they kind of, I think it was Ina Garden who said, like, you know, when you're cooking, a lot of times you might want to garnish or embellish with what's inside to kind of let your guests know, like, what this is made of. So to me, I like having the walnuts just very prominent on there, so they realize this is a walnut Rugalah. There we go. Well, that was a big old piece. Okay. Oh, these look good. So it's funny, a little story about me and my sister. My sister is a fabulous cook, but over the years, like we cook very differently, and I envy her for the way she cooks, because she's much more bold and creative than I am. I feel like I'm a classic cook. Like I like the classic techniques. I break away and get creative once I'm comfortable with recipes and techniques. That's just kind of, I think, how I roll. I'm this rule follower person, and that bleeds itself into my cooking, which is why I feel like I envy anyone that is super creative, because I don't always feel very creative. And that's why I really envy your cooking, because your cooking is just beautiful and creative and bold, and I envy that. I wish I could be more like that. But a little parallel story. We both learned how to play piano when we were younger. And the funny thing is we were the same way on the piano. So both of us very much loved enjoying. We loved learning how to play the piano. My sister, I would say, got better at it than I did, but she was more serious about it. But both, had many lessons, and now honestly, it brought me joy. I remember being a teenage girl and having something upset me, and I'd go down to the piano and pound away a song, or like have this love song play because I was sad, or like the songs, you could definitely tell what I was feeling by what I was playing. Anyways, but I liked learning songs and mastering them, which is kind of how I am with cooking. My sister, on the other hand, loved improvising. So when she was in high school, she was in this jazz band, and the way it would go is there was a tune, but then, just like in any other jazz instrument, there's improvisation, right? Where she would just have to kind of make it her own and go on a riff. So she is like that with her cooking. She never really liked following recipes. She always liked making it her own. And she looks at recipes as just being a guide, which I do too, but I do after I've mastered it, I will say. And so it's just funny because I think our personalities can come out in our cooking. The way we are in life can be the way we are in the kitchen. And that's why I always recognize and envy others, because you remind me of my sister that just loved to create and have the confidence there. Whereas for me, my confidence came from practice and really mastering classics, till then I could kind of start doing some things on my own. But I just think I find that really interesting with cooks, because I think cooking can be the same way as life is, and can show up in patterns that we'll find ourselves in cooking just like we are in life. Okay, so all of our beautiful cookies are made. We've got all of our walnut Rugalah made, and those are going to pop in the oven. I'm going to set another timer for 15 minutes. And I can see my chocolate chip ones starting to brown. They don't look ready yet, but they are starting to brown. They have 2 minutes left, and they have 2 minutes left till I check them, which is why I set it for 15 minutes. It doesn't mean they'll be done then, but I will want to check them. And now we're going to get our last piece of dough. And so let me go grab it. Okay, the last piece of dough. Down here, I'm going to be adding a lot more of that sugar. I'm going to add some of our walnut dust. Again, I don't really want the big pieces. I want the smaller pieces if possible. It's okay if some of the big pieces get in, but that's just kind of where I'm going for. Right, there we go. I'm going to mix those all up. Take our dough out, and now when we fill it, we're going to fill it with chocolate chips and walnuts. So again, this is how I do it. You could make all of yours chocolate chip. You could make all of yours with just walnut or pecans or with almonds or whatever you please. But this is just how we do it in our household. So now I'm just getting it pressed in, and then I'll get my rolling pin, getting the sides. There we go. So it has been a cooking weekend because yesterday I was making the meatballs for Hub's birthday dinner, which we enjoyed last night with our kids, and my one son who lives in the city came, and then my other son who's married came with his beautiful wife, and we had a lovely evening. And now today is baking day. So December, there is lots of cooking that goes on in this household. So, the reason, by the way, yes, Mappo, that's why I envy you, and I give you so many kudos. No. Oh, so Mappo said that I don't follow recipes. I'm not able to. I don't even think of how I'm going to prepare a dish until I'm in the kitchen. I always get involved, or always get nervous when I post thinking people would think I'm nuts. Oh, no. Mappo, you make beautiful dishes. I love seeing what you're going to create next. I do. I love your style of cooking. I envy your style of cooking. It reminds me of my sister's style of cooking. They're very similar. She does the same thing. And I feel like, so as a cook, when I think about it, I definitely have grown in my cooking. I mean, like we all do, right? And so some of that's just natural. But I think my confidence over these years, because I've been cooking for such a long time, has grown. And just to try to start trusting myself. And one of the newer things I've done over the past probably 5 or 10 years is, what a lot of chefs do is that you try to also see, you might have an idea like, oh, I want shrimp tonight, but like maybe the store doesn't have shrimp, or maybe the shrimp don't look good. And so, a lot of times it's also trying to figure out what's in season, what looks good at the market, what, how is that going to inspire what I make for dinner or for lunch. Okay, I'm rolling this out. I hear my buzzer going. Let's check our chocolate chip Rugalah, see how they're doing. So they look pretty brown. Let's take them out to see. So they look beautiful. Let me just take a peek at the bottom. I would like them done a little more. So they'd probably be fine taken out. I do like my Rugalah. So here's my thing. People are into soft cookies, and I get it. Like when soft cookies first started really making a scene back, oh my gosh, I don't know if it was the 80s or whatnot, when it became a thing that you wanted a soft, gooey cookie, like I was all for it, right? But the thing is, some cookies aren't meant to be that, right? Some cookies are meant to, like my grandma's Anna's cookies, they're meant to be hard, and biscotti are meant to be hard, and then there's nothing like a super crisp cookie that I love, especially a chocolate chip one. I love like those really thin, super crisp chocolate chip cookies. Wait a second, let me just get this going. So I think that there's room for everything, but we don't want everything to be soft and gooey. We want different textures, different flavors. And so for these Rugalah, they are not a crisp cookie all throughout, but you want that texture of the outside having that like a little bit of crispness, and the inside is more tender because this is a tender dough. So you want all of that, right? I just think that's important. But I get it. You know, I remember we used to actually even take store-bought cookies, because about the time the soft cookie trend became such like a big thing, was the time microwaves were in more houses. And I remember us taking store-bought cookies and microwaving them because we found out it softened them. And so we do that, but they still were kind of crappy, right? Some of those store-bought cookies. Yes, and when I was saying about the shrimp thing, I was thinking about that, because that would be a bummer. And because I imagine from the little conversations we've had on Twitter, I think you really like seafood too, correct, Poe? Yes, you buy cookies a lot. Crispy, crunchy, yum. Okay, so you can see this one is really giving a square vibe. So as I said, we're not going to stress about it, because at the end of the day, these come out beautiful in these little like crescents, and they'll be just fine. So I'm going to stick with that. I think that's fine. I'm going to now put some of my sugar. I'm going to put some of my nuts. Actually, I'm going to put all my nuts. There we go. Let's just dump it all on, and we're going to dump the rest of our chocolate chips. Now, these are Andy's favorite. He likes the one with the nuts and the chocolate. He wants it all. How is that 2 minutes up already? That doesn't seem possible. It's amazing when you're cooking and when you're live streaming. Time goes so quickly, like it doesn't seem possible. All right, so I'm just going to get some of these chips onto here. I'm not going to be rushed by my timer because I know my cookies are doing fine. I'm going to press it in, and then I'm going to check on my chocolate chip Rugalah. Let's see here. Yes. All right, these look good. So let me show you. They've got beautiful brown on them. You can see they're kind of lighter in the middle, but the edges are light brown. They are perfectly done. So I'm going to let these cool for a minute, and then I'm going to put them on a rack. Yeah, I know, that was you. Okay. All right, we're going to get these cut. Actually, you know what? I do need to take those off on the rack because I need that pan. And I need that pan to cool. So let me just, give me a second, friends. I need to get a rack over here so I can get these cooling. As much as I have counter space, I feel like all of a sudden I have no space. All right, get a rack. Okay. Transfer them with my, 1 second, friends. You just transfer these. Cool. Oh, that chocolate's hot. I have asbestos hands, but when you touch one of those molten chocolate chips, it's definitely a little toasty. So I'm just transferring all of these to this rack here so they can cool completely. Oh, it smells so good. Oh my goodness. Ow. Oh, the chocolate is so hot. Oh my, oh, that's what I'm gonna try. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I'm actually not faking it. Those little chocolate chips that are on the edges are super, super hot. This is how you develop asbestos hands. For anyone that's not been cooking a long time, the more you handle really hot things, the more you can put up with it. All right, I'm gonna put that one there for me to have. Now, unfortunately, you can see what happened moving all of the chocolate on my fingers. So when doing that, we created a bit of a mess. So I'm going to need to rinse off that silk hat, or at least wipe it off, so that I can put these next Rugalah on there. I'm all done with this. Let me just put away this flour 1 second here. Okay. Get the silk hat off. It's hot. Going to wipe it. Towel. Oh, goodness. Okay, so I'm just going to use a sponge because they're just smearing because they're chocolate. All right, so give me a second while I wash this so I can use this for my last batch of Rugalah. The one bad thing is that, it's not a bad thing because it's totally worth it because it's chocolate, but they do, when they melt, they kind of smear all over the place. So let me just get this bit off, get this wiped. Fully dried. Silpets are, I'm used to letting my silpets air dry. They're a little harder to dry by hand. Not hard, they're just awkward. Get all the moisture off. Okay, all right, we are good to go. So now we can lay this down. Bring this back over here. And because this is still a little warm, I'm going to get these sectioned and roll, and I'm going to keep them here until just at the end. So, all right, so I'm going to go in half, quarters, eighths, and 16ths. There we go. There we go. And there we go. All right, now we're going to roll up. Now on these, just like I did with the other ones, I want to make sure that there is a nut visible and a chocolate chip because I want them to see. And again, I'm going to keep them here. I just reminded myself. I'm like, nope, I'm not putting it on the pan yet because the pan's pretty warm. I don't want them to start like melting away. So I feel like if I put a nut and a chip there, they'll see that this has both nuts and chips in it. Because again, usually when I fix up a tray, unless I know that the person I'm giving it to has a preference, I actually put some of each. I'll put one just nut, one with just chips, and one with both. But I want them to see that it's different, so they know that there is a difference there. All right, in a second, I'm going to grab that chocolate chip Rugalah that I just put out because one thing I was saying to you is Rugalah are the most amazing cookie fresh out of the oven. Just don't want to be like hot, like you want to just be warm. So I'm going to make sure Hubs comes out here soon to get one because they're just amazing. All right, so let me get one more rolled up and I'm going to go taste that. So the one I'm tasting is probably my least favorite of the ones I make because I just really like having the nuts in there. But even, well, they're all good, but fresh out. Oh my gosh! So this is the little teeny one I'm gonna taste. Let's see, but it's not too hot. That's coming from my mouth. Oh my god! I wash my hands. That is so good. So just out of the oven, you get the crispy interior or exterior, but tender interior. I can't talk. Interior, and the chips are warm, so they're gooey. So they are gooey because they're warm. And then you get the cinnamon and sugar, which complements the chocolate. Those, even though those are my least favorite of the three, because I like the nuts, they are so good. Take some water, because now I made that cookie really made me thirsty. Okay. There is nothing, even if you just make them just have that cookie, those couple of fresh baked cookies, and then give them all away so they don't fall on your hips. Those are so good. I want to use an expletive. They're so good, but only in the best of ways. Those are yummy. These are why once I tasted these cookies, and again, she was, I think she just did them with the walnuts. But after I had these of hers, I was like, I've got to make them. And those weren't fresh from the oven even. Those were just, you know, cooled, of course, but freshly baked. And I had said, oh, I got to make these. But when you have them fresh out of the oven, there is nothing like that. It's kind of like, so for anyone that enjoys chocolate chip cookies. There is nothing like a chocolate chip cookie fresh out of the oven. That's how these are. And it's not even the chocolate ones. Like, it doesn't matter that it's has just the walnuts or anything. They're just, it's the dough with that sour cream. It has like this lovely subtle tang that just makes it, oh, it's like, it's stellar. I would have to say that when I hear from people that get my cookies, the Rugalah and the biscotti are their favorite. Like, and they're just different. I think people don't often give those, at least around here, they don't give those as often. Let me just check. Nope, I think they need a little bit longer. I think it's just gonna be 1 minute though. I don't think it's gonna be 2 minutes. I don't know why those cooks seem to cook sooner, and maybe when I look at them out of the oven, I'll change my mind, but they look like they could be done. And isn't that funny about cookies? Like the fact that one sheet could be done faster than the other sheet when they're in the same oven, and really they're the same thickness of dough. And I will say the walnut cookies are on the top shelf, but remember I have convection, so convection uses air to circulate around there, so that really shouldn't affect, because one thing that's nice about convection is you can put it on any shelf and it kind of keeps that temperature consistent, so baked goods bake evenly. That's one of the things that makes convection so great for baking, is it really bakes things evenly with even browning. But I'll tell you, savory wise, for roasting vegetables, roasting meats, oh my gosh, the convection is my favorite. I'm so glad I got on the convection train. It's a good train to be on. Okay, let's check them out. These are done. In fact, just take a quick peek. Yeah, I'm gonna hold those off for just a second until I load these on the tray, and then I'll do a switcheroo once I put them in. Now my tray has cooled, which makes me happy. It's not cold, but it isn't piping hot like it was. So I'm transferring these over, and then these are gonna go in. Well, that's a tiny little one. Okay, there we go. If you asked me which were one cookie of the 3 I made today that you should make to impress your friends, it would be the Rugalah. They're all good, but this one, I just think this one impresses. Okay, so let me put this in for 15 minutes to check. All right, let me show you these. See, beautiful. They're beautiful. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to put these over. Now these are going to have the same problem as the chocolate ones because they don't have the gooey melted chocolate, so they're going to be easier to transfer. They're going to be easier in my hands. So I'm going to transfer these over. And then we're going to get our biscotti on so we can start baking. Doing it second bake. Okay. So for me, it's funny. I gotta say, I think there's something calming about doing the Christmas cooking. Part of it is honestly the Christmas music. I just like having the music to remind me why I'm doing what I'm doing. Oh, hon, the Rugalah are out. They are phenomenal. Don't do the walnut ones yet because they're way too hot. Take out a chocolate chip one.
All right, I will.
They are excellent. You're off camera. You gotta come tell how it is. How is it?
No, so good. They're always good.
And I have crumbs here for you too. Biscotti crumbs if you want. There you go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me just brush this off. I'm going to, on my cookie sheet, put the biscotti so they can get their second bake. Just brush all this off. I'll clean this board off later so we get at least brushed off so I can put my thing on top. Okay. Oh, I wish you were there too. You know what, Nicole, if you were there, we would have some tea, we'd have some cookies, And then when it became that time that all happy hours can begin, or even a little before the time, we would share a glass of wine. I'd share my winter sangria that I made again. I made it on Wednesday night so that I could have it for when we had our family over for the spaghetti birthday dinner last night, which is so yummy. Yes, so you would make the combo. Popo said she'd make the combo with the chips and the nuts. Those are Andy's favorite. He likes the combination. Oh, Andy. What? You did World Cup. What? World Cup.
Probably one of the...
No. Who won?
Argentina.
That's what Mapo. Okay, yes, Mapo. Andy. Yeah, I said Argentina. And that's who you were rooting for, right, Mapo?
The best. And I'm not a soccer guy. That was probably the best sporting event I've seen in a long time.
That's awesome.
It was unbelievable.
She couldn't watch it. She was so nervous. But I'm pretty sure that was the team you wanted to win.
You know, they went to double extra time.
Oh my goodness.
And they won it in penalty kicks. It was crazy.
So now I'm taking these and I'm just putting them on the cookie sheet so that they can bake off a second time. And these aren't all gonna, are these all gonna fit? Maybe I can make these fit. Remember, these aren't gonna expand, so I'm gonna be creative and make sure I make these fit. So I don't need to have 2 pans in there. And I will say, when I make cookie trays, you know, when I make cookie trays, I add all my cookies to them. These are the ones that are the showstoppers because of dipping them in chocolate. Because they just, you know, like it looks beautiful, right? You embellish it. Oh, and by the way, so just as another thing, these aren't the only cookies I make. I also make chocolate chip cookies, and I'm trying to think, and I usually do something making like a chocolate of some sort. Like sometimes I've done it where I mix the chocolate with some dried cranberries, and like I make a chocolate bark with dried cranberries and a nut, and then I melt it and I spread it, and then I break it. After it hardens, I break it up into like a bark. So I've done that before. Oh, these are going to be a little stingy, not fit. 1 second here. But so that way when you do your cookie tray, you have lots to put on. Yeah, I'm going to need to make this a little bit wider. There we go. But I figured the chocolate chip cookie, it's just the Toll House. So like I didn't feel like that was something that I needed to stream. Like that's something everybody does. I wanted to share the cookie recipes that were different. You know, that was something that, not that I know there are people that obviously, you know, do Rugalah for the holidays, but still it's not a cookie that everyone necessarily sees. At least I didn't see. So for me, it was a new cookie when I saw it for the first time at that cookie swap. Okay, I did it. Okay, it's still a little warm, but I've got. So there we go. I'm so happy for you, Poe. I'm glad your team won. I'm very glad your team won. All right, so our biscotti are ready to go in for their second bake. So they're going to go in for about 5 or 10 minutes on this side at that same temperature, 350 or 325 convection. So I'm going to get these in, and then we're going to flip them. Okay. All right. So now, while everything's baking, I will start tidying up. Because we are going to meet my son and his wife for a place that has like shopping, and then when the lights are, when the darkness falls, there's so many different holiday lights, and so we wanted to see it at Christmas time and see all the decorations. I'm gonna tidy things up. It sounds like a perfect song to tidy stuff up with because it's got like kind of an upbeat. So what are you doing for the rest of the day, Poe? Oh, I wish, oh my gosh, Poe, I wish I could send a batch out to you. Truly I do. That's, I think the thing that's fun, but also challenging as we've gotten to know so many great foodies on Twitter is that we all want to taste each other's food, but we're all like, most of us are super far away, which is a bummer. But I also love that we can share recipes. So that's one of the things I love about live streaming. And again, the recipes are not there now, but they will be there by tomorrow. So I'll try to either get it on tonight, because we're going to be getting back kind of late, and there is something I need to do tonight before I post the recipe. So it might not be till the end of the day tomorrow, but they will be on. So I have on the description below, coming soon, and they will come. So don't despair. If they're not there yet, just give it a little more time and they will be there. Because I don't have links, because these are my personal recipes that I've gotten from friends or adapted to make my own. So this, by the way, this cinnamon sugar, do not get rid of that. So one of the reasons why I always kind of shook it on this way is because I didn't want it to get gross or yucky, because then this is great for toast or for flavoring something else with cinnamon sugar. So I'm going to keep this over here. And I can start tidying. Oh, I love Bocelli. He is amazing. I saw a special on him, or a story on him the other day, and he was with his family, and I didn't realize that his son and his daughter sang too. And so they showed some things where he was singing with his son, and then they showed some things, and I think his son came out with an album also. Or I'm trying to remember exactly what his son, has a beautiful voice as well, and his daughter has a beautiful voice, and it was so sweet to see them as a family and some of the things they do together. I love really all kinds of music. I love jazz. I love classical. I mean, being that I played piano, I learned to play a lot of classical songs, and it gave me a love of classical music. I love rock and roll. I love alternative. I love country. I love blues. I love some rap. I love soul music, and I love R&B. In fact, my son Matt, he has an appreciation for R&B because of my love for it. I'm not as big into hard rock, about as big into hard rock as I get as Foo Fighters. I really loved them. We were actually going to see them this summer before their drummer passed away. But yeah, I have a very eclectic taste for music, but I love how, because of my husband and my eclectic taste, it has influenced our sons. And so, like with our youngest, Matt, that's on my stream sometimes, he likes some of the really hard stuff that my hubs likes that I just can't tolerate, but he also loves R&B, and I love that. Like, I like that I had that influence on him. So he likes a lot of things in between. I think the only thing either of my sons don't really like, especially my youngest, he doesn't like country, and I didn't like country when I was his age, but it's very different now, I will say. And my son David, he likes some country. His wife likes country, so he has appreciation in country music. But I like so many. Actually, I like the fact that I reach for all different kinds of music depending upon my mood or my needs or what I'm looking for the music to do. Oh my gosh, you got to see him live. That's amazing. And one of the things, and I'm sure you saw too, was when he did that, I wouldn't even call it a concert, but he did those songs during the pandemic, and he was alone in front of, I think it was a church, and it was beautifully filmed and beautifully sung, of course, beautifully sung. I'm versatile too when it comes to music, but not so much jazz though. Come on, I understand. Contemporary's okay. I can't listen to hardcore jazz. Yeah, I can't listen to all jazz. I like more bluesy jazz, probably, or like this is a jazz rendition of Christmas songs. So this kind of jazz, like easy jazz, like that's what I like more often. And there was someone on Twitter, and I remember I tweeted this, and I'm forgetting her name. There's an artist, a jazz artist, singer, Nina Simone. And this person, a friend that we're friends on Twitter, had basically, she was, I think, looking on the water, and she said, I'm just feeling very Nina Simone, like I have her playlist on or whatnot. And I think maybe it was on Spotify. I use Pandora, which my sons tease me like, they just don't stop teasing me about the fact that I won't switch to Spotify, but I've always done Pandora before Spotify even was really a thing. And I've got my curated stations I love, so I wouldn't want to switch it. Anyway, Nina Simone she's got a beautiful voice, and when you put that as a curated list then with other artists similar to her, it is awesome. A lot of it is from probably, I would say, like the 40s, like that time, 40s and 50s, but just cool. Like we listen to it when we're eating dinner. Andy loves her station because it's just what it curates, because you put her name there. It's just very cool. I'd say cool is the best word. Cool music. It's got this great chill vibe. And it's great for especially eating dinner. Like especially at the end of the day when you just want to chill. Like you want to just relax. Oh yeah, so you know Nina Simone. Yes. That's the kind of jazz I like. Or like, this kind of, like these are considered jazz renditions of the Christmas songs. I like that kind of jazz too. Oh my gosh, I just saw that I have all the I don't know if you remember when we were doing our chocolate chip ones, I had put all these chocolate chips there to save for later, and we forgot. So now they're gonna go down the tubes because, oh well, what are you gonna do? Okay, so there's a special thing I have to do to clean this, so I'm gonna put this over aside for later. And my one are almost done, and when those are done, I'm going to check my other ones. I'm going to check my Rugalah, and I'll check my biscotti at the same time, and I need my soapy sponge. So I'm going to start getting things washed. Well, we are beginning to wrap up this stream. And Mapo, I cannot thank you enough for sticking around to chat. It was a pleasure. I actually wish, like, the next step that would be fun with YouTube is, and I know this is never going to happen, but it'd be really cool if there was a way that when we chatted with people watching our streams, that somehow they could like press a button and it would actually have their voice come through, because I think that would be really fun and cool to do. But I love the fact that even though I can't hear your voice, I still feel like I'm chatting with you, and I appreciate that. Like you have a lot of choices in how you want to spend your day, and I am thrilled and just heartened, and I cannot tell you much how sweet it is that you wanted to spend your day watching me do my Christmas baking. So thank you. I appreciate that. And for anyone else that has popped in and has been watching from behind, thank you. I truly appreciate your support. This is just some crazy idea I had last winter to start doing, really out of my comfort zone. Still many times out of my comfort zone, but I really do. I enjoy it, and I hope that it's something that my kids and my someday grandkids can get a kick out of. Their crazy grandma doing these live streams for cooking. All right, let me check. Let's see here. First, I'll check these. Those need a little more time. Okay, so I'm actually going to do a little switcheroo. I'm going to check my biscotti and probably flip them. And I'm going to put these on the top shelf. Not that matters technically, but it seems like it did, so I'm going to put them up for 2 more minutes. And I'm going to flip my biscotti. You probably should flip with tongs or a spatula, but I, again, have asbestos hands, so I'm just going to use my fingers. So they got lightly brown. Now, this is where you can, if you're using tongs, just make sure you touch them so you can feel. They still feel very bready. They are not crisp. I want them crisp. So I do not want a bready biscotti. I want a crisp biscotti that I can dunk into hot beverages, right? So yeah, so that's what you're looking for. So part of it is, the times are a suggestion. But part of it is truly using your own good sense to make sure when these fellas are done. And again, you don't have to get them as crisp as I like to get them. Oops, I didn't mean to do that one over. But do them to your liking, but definitely don't underdo them. That would be my suggestion. It'd be better to over crisp them than under crisp them. Okay, so these are going back in. I'm putting them in for definitely 10 minutes. They might not be done after that 10 minutes. We won't be streaming at that point, but I'm gonna keep flipping and baking until they are as crisp as I want them. Keeping at the temperature. You don't wanna raise the temperature because if you do so, they'll get too brown, and that you don't want. You're really trying to dry these fellas out. And those are almost done, so I'm gonna put this in for 10 minutes. Okay. So these are all my last Rugalah are almost done, and as I mentioned, because we are going to be finishing up soon, as I mentioned with my biscotti, once they are fully cool, I will dip. So you can do dipping a couple different ways. You can take that long biscotti. Let's just say this was biscotti, and you can dip it like the one end in, and just have the one end dipped. What I like to do when I dip my biscotti, because I like that chocolate to go everywhere, is I dip it this way into chocolate. So there's chocolate all along the edge. And I'll share pictures on Twitter, and I'll probably share it also on my community tab on YouTube. Also, when I'm done dipping, it probably won't be till tomorrow. But I want a little chocolate everywhere. I don't want chocolate just on one end. I want it along the whole biscotti. So when I dip it this way. So you'll see. And I just dip a mixture of semi-sweet chocolate chips with the 60% chocolate chips. And I like Ghirardelli personally. Myself. Those are my jam. Ghirardelli is my jam. All right, so these are the ones that I've always been looking forward to, and they are beautiful. They're beautiful. All those gorgeous cookies. Those are the mix of walnut and chocolate, and so I'm going to end the stream with tasting my favorite, which are the walnut. Whoops. Yellow. So these are my favorite, the walnut. And I also like the ones that are most brown because I like the crispy and then it'll still be tender inside. So let me try this one. Let me show you inside. This is all rolled up. Okay. All rolled up. And in there you see nuts and you see cinnamon sugar. It is delicious. It's just so good and so tender, and the little ends are crispy. It is awesome. Now I gotta chew. So besides the Rugalah, remember we also made these lovely shortbread bites, and I'm in the process of still finishing my biscotti that I will dip in chocolate tomorrow. Also this week I'll make my chocolate chip cookies, and I'll make whatever candy I'm going to be making to go with the cookie trays. And that's all she wrote. Oh, I will say, because I forgot to mention this. So my grandma and my mom both made more than this. Like I feel like my mom made almost double these cookies. She made so many different kinds of cookies. The ones I remember are sugar cookies, both frosted and sugared. She made banana cookies that had cream cheese frosting. She made, and those were soft. She made fruit cookies, and my grandma made fruit cookies. And those are one that I think next year I want to make those. She made these fig pinwheel cookies. Oh my goodness, what else did she make? She made, she made this magic bar cookies, which were really popular in the 70s, that were my favorite cookie as a child. And they were layers of graham crackers, and it was sweetened condensed milk, and it was chocolate, it was coconut, chocolate chips, nuts, I don't know if there was anything else, and then you bake it and you cut it. She, at one point, made these shortbread, kind of like a shortbread toffee cookie that had chocolate covering. I mean, she made so many cookies. Like it was the most glorious time. I mean, I remember as a child just being enamored with how many cookies were in the house. And we would be allowed to, if it was home on the weekends, you know, after lunch, we could choose a cookie or two. After dinner, we could choose a cookie or two. Like it was just, like we were not that's when we had cookies in the house. Other than that, every once in a while she might make a homemade cookie, but usually it was store-bought cookies. So Christmas was such a special time, having so much delicious food being baked and cooked in the house. And she gave away a lot of cookies, which is why she made them. So I feel very inadequate that I've not made the degree of cookies that she did. My grandma, I know, made the anise cookies. She made the fruit cookies. She made her chocolate chip cookies. And I don't remember what else. I think, but she didn't make quite as many cookies. And she was older at that point, you know, than my mom did. But my mom made a hell of a lot of cookies. That's all I'm going to say. So kudos to my mom for all the cookies, because she inspired me to continue to bake at Christmas time. Mapo, thank you so much for being on during this stream. I know it was a long one, and I hope you have a lovely day. I'm so glad Argentina won. Yay, Argentina. And to everyone, have a delightful week. Happy Hanukkah. Today is Hanukkah, and so Hanukkah begins. And so to any of my Jewish friends, happy Hanukkah. Wishing all the best to you and yours. For everyone, the weeks ahead, the Christmas countdown is beginning. And last thing I will say is I'm not sure about my stream on Wednesday. I also have like a list this long of things to do. So my stream was supposed to be a try or buy, we were going to try a takeout restaurant. I'm just not sure if I even want to do anything. I just think I might need a break. So I stay tuned for that, because I'm not sure about Wednesday night. But thank you all for joining the stream. Thank you for your support. Please make sure you like and subscribe to stay in the know, and also find me on Twitter at PhillyPhillyLive. And Mapo, wishing you a wonderful week and day. And to everyone, have a great week, and happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa to come. And I'm giving love out here from my kitchen to yours. And until we eat again, see you later.